hours, a few scattered chances of some showers. Friday, partly sunny, 62 degrees. Looking cooler through Saturday, 63 before we rise. On Sunday, highs towards the mid to upper 70s, mostly sunny skies. Isolated chances of showers as we look off into portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch.
There's a lot to talk about today, St. Louis. Let's get the conversation started. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
It is truly one of the most important questions that Missourians have been asked in years, maybe decades. Do we want to change the funding of the government that affects not just the government, but also affects each and every one of us and, frankly, almost every business in the state? It is a big decision, and we spoke with Governor Kehoe about that on Tuesday. Hey, good morning. Mike Ferguson here. Thanks for making News Talk STL part of this Wednesday. Don't forget, it's also Bump Day. What are the 80s bump music songs that you want to hear this coming Friday? I don't know if Jerome's got a theme yet or not. We'll ask him about that here in a few minutes. But like I said, Governor Kehoe joined us on the program on Tuesday, not just to talk about why he favors phasing out the Missouri state income tax, but he answered a lot of the questions that the critics are bringing up, and some of those questions are very fair. Here's how that conversation went. To tax or not to tax our income? That is the question for voters in Missouri.
I would prefer not to tax.
Yeah, I'm not exactly Shakespeare with Hamlet there on that. But bottom line is that the legislature has heeded the call to put the question on the ballot. Missouri voters now are going to be asked to decide, do you want to phase out the state income tax? We're going to be talking about that Thursday at our Road to Zero town hall event with Americans for Prosperity and Mo Tax Relief Now. And we're now joined by Governor Mike Kehoe. And Governor, good to chat with you again. First day of the legislative session, you and Susie and I had this conversation. This was among, if not your top priority, is to get this on the ballot. And of course, now there's a lot of confusion, media, those who oppose, and saying, okay, but if we get rid of the state income tax, then we're going to have to raise other taxes in order to make up all of the income. And that's the math formula that they're telling people. What is it that you want people to know about the proposal that's going to be on the ballot and the specifics and what would still need to be decided afterwards?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me on again. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of misinformation. I'd like to start by saying thank you to House and Senate and leadership in the House and Senate to make sure this proposal got through both chambers to get to the ballot. It's because it's a referendum. It does not come across the governor's desk, but it's appropriate for Missourians to vote on what I think might be the largest policy decision we've made in how we run and fund government in the last maybe 100 years. But, Mike, what we were clear about from the very beginning as we ran on this during the campaign, our State of the State speech, probably with your interview and subsequent interviews, is that what Missourians will vote on is should we eliminate them sending $9 billion a year to the government to spend and letting them keep that in their pocket. And in exchange, what we would do is take what is a 100-year-old or almost 100-year-old sales tax code and bring it up to modern day. So it doesn't necessarily mean raise taxes. It could mean widening what we look at, services, e-services, different things that are not collected sales tax on now. I would say most of your listeners, and if they bought something in the last day, maybe the last month, it might be from a business or industry that wasn't even in business in 1931. So looking at what the sales tax code looks like and bringing it up to a modern economy is how we would suggest looking at this and doing it responsibly. So it wouldn't happen all at one time. It won't be a flip of a switch. It's like I said, it will be a gradual reduction to get to zero. It makes our state incredibly competitive with the other states who already have the tool of no income tax to use for economic development, growing population, et cetera. We think it's a better way to fund government. It's a better way to let Missourians make the decision on what to do with that $9 billion a year that they'll get to keep in their pocket. And we believe it's just a path forward to bring us competitiveness and into the modern century.
Why is relying on a sales tax base as opposed to an income tax base more attractive if you're looking for businesses, jobs, or retirees or whoever? Why would that be more attractive? Explain that part.
Well, because it's a consumption base, Missourians are making their decision with their wallet and what they buy, what they're paying taxes on by buying that. Out-of-town visitors were welcome to the state. Tourism is our number 2 or 3 industry, depending on the year you look at. The number of people, almost 50 million, a year will come into the state of Missouri, and they're spending dollars to help pay for that sales tax. So it spreads it out a lot more. But the most important piece is it lets Missourians keep money in their pocket that they get to decide how to put in the economy. And I think that Missourians can make better decisions on how to spend that money better than any elected official, and that's not a shot, I include myself in that, ever can make.
We're visiting with Governor Mike Kehoe. Then, obviously, the flip side of that is going to be the spending part. I think one of the arguments is, but you have to replace every single penny that would not be collected by the income tax. And the conversation that you and Susie and I had back in January, you were pretty adamant about, well, no, part of to make this work is going to have to be spending restraints and lessening money. And then the question comes down to if what we're not spending on afterwards, those spending cuts, are those going to affect critical services to Missourians, the legitimate functions of government?
No, legitimate critical services will not be affected. But you're right. We need to tighten our belt. We're like any other family out there. We need to make sure we not only control what we're spending, and as you know, our proposal this year is $600 million less than last year. And I think, and I'm sure that in 2028 budget, which we'll take on a year from now, we'll have another significant cut. So we've got to tighten our belt, and then we've also got to look for ways to bring in more revenue. And I believe this new tax code will do that for us. So, but there are a lot of people out there saying, well, it's going to cut essential services. I think you and your listeners know that I am the largest fan of our first responder, police, fire, community, et cetera. We're not going to affect any of those. We're not going to affect what we're doing for public education, which is a record amount of spending in our budget this year, and higher education. Even though we had a tough budget year, we still left the dollars and resources towards higher education. So the critical things that they need, the services for those people who are really the most vulnerable, that's not going to happen. But what your listeners need to know is in the last 5 years, the state budget has added 3,421 new spending items for a total of $12 billion. Now, there's a way to tighten our budget when we existed without all those items and without all that extra spending in 2020. There's a way to do it, and I think we have to do both. You have to get more fiscally responsible, and then you have to look for ways to increase your revenue, all while increasing your state's competitiveness with other states who are already doing this.
Okay, so I want to clear up some of the things that I'm seeing some confusion on regarding what's being suggested for the constitutional amendment. There's no specific plan that we're going to vote on. We're basically voting on the Constitution directing the legislature to make this happen. Is there any concern with the argument that, okay, you're putting this in the Constitution, but there's not a specific way to do it? We're just trusting future lawmakers to make that happen.
No, because there's a window of time the legislature has to get that done. So remember, if for some reason the legislature can't agree, and these are your elected officials, the people that are in Jefferson City are the folks that almost 6.5 Missourians sent there, they'll be speaking on your behalf to design what that new sales tax code looks like with input from a lot of different, stakeholders. But if they can't get it done in a period of years, then it goes back to the way we are now. So there's kind of a fail-safe in there that if the legislature can't act or can't decide or can't agree on what this new sales tax code could look like, it goes back to the way we are today. So there is definitely a safety net in there. And remember, what the constitutional amendment also says is that we can't start refunding until we see what the revenue streams are. So as we change the sales tax code, we're going to have revenues coming in before we can start sending monies back to Missourians. That's why I say it's a phase out that most people would tell you is 4 to 6 years to do. And there's also provision so that the counties and the taxes that people live in various counties, and you remember there's lots of special taxing districts out there, those don't get affected, but they also don't get a free ride on a windfall from a different sales tax code. So they would have to regulate how their sales taxes are, property taxes are, school tax levies to be the same as when we started. So they don't get kind of a windfall off of this. So there's several protections in there that really protect the Missouri consumer, all while changing, what our economic outlook looks like.
There's almost certainly going to be a army of lobbyists if this passes to say, but an exemption for my product or my service or my industry out there. So there's going to be lobbying for carve outs everywhere. Are there any places where there should be exemptions from an expanded sales tax base? You've mentioned medical, for instance, healthcare. How far should those be considered if we're going to expand the base and it be equal for or fair for everybody?
Well, as you know from being around the building, there's always an army of lobbyists on some issue. God love them. They're always there. That's their job, and I get it. We've been clear that there's 3 areas that should not be affected. One is healthcare, because healthcare costs are just crazy, and there's no reasons why we should even look at that as any kind of expansion or difference. Agriculture is our number one industry. We said very clearly we wouldn't touch agriculture and are the exemptions that they get. And then real estate. Real estate, because, that's an affordability issue, and the realtors are the one, to their credit, who brought this to the ballot back in 2014 and says we can't expand sales tax to different areas. So we think those are the 3 appropriate areas that, as long as I'm governor, and God willing, that will happen, and Missourians trust us for a while, we're going to continue to make sure that doesn't happen. But look, that's the same fight those 3 industries have every year, whether this code is before them or not. There's always somebody in that legislature trying to figure out a way to expand this. But as our administration and House and Senate have agreed, those 3 areas, healthcare, ag, and real estate, will not be touched.
Okay, and we're having the conversation in Des Peres on Thursday as well. So if people have any questions or disagreements, we're hoping that they're going to come out and hear from a couple of the key authors of all this, Senator Nick Schroer and Representative Ben Keithley. And that's I keep telling them, Governor, if you disagree or you're not sure, that's exactly who should be at this town hall event.
Yeah, those guys have been champions, by the way, along with a lot of their colleagues. I'm very grateful to have Nick and Ben coming to that event. Americans for Prosperity, AFP, they're one of 40 national organizations who have got behind this plan. The White House Economic Development gentleman has been involved in this plan. So we've had a lot of people involved in trying to make sure we didn't rush to do something. We've put a lot of time and effort into it. I'm glad you're having that town hall. Missourians should ask questions. It is a big policy change. But at the end of the day, every income level we've looked at, even with a widened sales tax code, by keeping their income tax in their pocket, Missourians would take home and keep more in their pocket than they would spend, even if we change and do some modest modifications to the sales tax code. It's a win-win at every income level across the board.
All right, got some thoughts on that? Let me know on the Rumble chat box, or you can tweet them at me at AVP Radio Show or at NewsTalkSTL. And give me a call, 314-912-1019. We got a lot of ground to cover here today on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
Love the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the NewsTalk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint by a lot, backed with our 25-year transferable warranty. Paint a house, shield a home. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, steel, aluminum, cedar, and more. We are the only coating company selected by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where all 3 episodes concentrate on unpainted brick. If you maintain or own a business with a tired-looking building, you owe it to yourself to look at Rhino Shield and our beautifully durable color schemes. Evaluations are free. We're making buildings pop and be noticed again, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks, exceeding expectations every day with our products, people, and performance. Now is the time to call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or go to 877-25rhino.com and see how honest and transparent we really are. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
This year, America turns 250, and NewsTalk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. NewsTalk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration, Gulf Shores Restaurant, Pacific Animal Hospital, and Williams Brothers Meats. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 101.9 and 94.1 NewsTalk STL.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Missouri's laws are clear. Unregulated gaming devices are illegal. Companies have been telling businesses that gray market machines are legal. That's wrong. Don't be scammed. If you have these devices at your business, you could be subject to criminal and civil penalties. Unplug and remove these devices today.
If you've been approached to host illegal gaming machines, call now. 800-523-1434 or visit ago.mo.gov. Sponsored by the Attorney General's Office.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, I'll just start out by saying I may get myself in trouble again today. You ever notice I do that a lot?
You're a rabble-rouser.
I kind of. But I'm asking the question, and because I want to try to do the whole flip test thing. James Comey, a louse of a human being. I mean, don't get me wrong. Apparently, the DOJ has been investigating his Instagram post from 2025 for a year, according to Kash Patel. We've been investigating that post. We're talking about the seashells and the 8647.
What's there to investigate?
That's what I don't know what it takes the Department of Justice a year to investigate the Instagram post where he put 8647 on the seashells, and it was a stupid thing. Well, he got indicted by a federal grand jury, and he was indicted for threatening the life of the president. And what they're saying is that Instagram post was a threat, and therefore they secured a federal indictment against him. Okay. Wow. No fan of James Comey here. But I'm going to ask the question. I'm really curious what Susie says, because I'm not sure Susie's going to agree with me. I don't know. But the Instagram post is literally one picture, and he said, what did he say? Something like, yeah, I saw these on the beach, wink, wink, or whatever the case is. And so criminal indictment for threatening the life of the president because of the Instagram post. Now, James Comey weaponized the government against him. So is it a matter of, hey, you did it to him, he can do it to you? Because that seems to be what this is. I don't know that any reasonable person is going to say James Comey just announced he's going to try to kill the president because he put seashells on the beach. But it also doesn't change the fact that James Comey is just a crap human being.
So again, I love my tinfoil. I can imagine maybe if there was this year-long investigation of the photos, that was like a signal for somebody out there that knew when I post this on Instagram, that's your sign to start. If that's the case, absolutely put him in jail. However, I do a lot of graffiti. I don't do it, but I take photos of a lot of graffiti. And there's a lot of anti-ICE, anti-Trump stuff out there. Should I get arrested if I take a photo saying, hey, there's a bad thing of Trump here, and I'm going to put it online just to document it?
Yeah, so I'm going to take the convince me one way or the other approach today. Because I understand that the meaning of 86 is, I first learned, you and I had this discussion this morning. When I first heard that term, I was working in restaurants 30 years ago. And 86 meant either take that off the menu because we've run out of it, or there's something bad about the ingredients or whatever, and go ahead and remove that. That's what that meant. And by the time your generation comes around, that means something totally different.
So there was a lot of gang activity where I grew up. And so to 86 literally meant bring you 80 feet out in the woods, bury you 6 feet deep.
Yeah,
so
which is...
until this photo got posted, I had no idea that there was any other connotation besides kill.
I mean, I like I said, 30 years ago, that was a restaurant term that we get. Now, that's not how people think. So I'm just curious, does the Instagram post... I am not trying to defend James Comey. He's like I said, he's a louse of a human being. But does the Instagram post warrant a year-long Department of Justice investigation? If this were just you or me or somebody putting it out there and we're not a political enemy of the president, we're not getting a year-long investigation and we're not getting a federal indictment and nobody's going to accuse us of threatening the life of the president. But James Comey is, because he's trying to, he was the one so involved in the impeachments and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to talk about that just a little bit later on today. I'm curious what people think. So get them, convince me one way or the other. Let me hear it here. Let's see here. Also, want to get into this here. By the way, the news dump, we'll hear some sound bites from Comey and some of the others as well. Apparently, I'm supposed to be really interested in the fact that the king's here in the U.S.
No kings.
No, I know. We've gone from no kings to toasting the king.
These people had one job. These protesters had one job.
Stop
and they
kings
failed.
from being here.
And now we got a king. We finally have a king. And where are they at?
Gosh dang it!
Disappointment.
No, I'm just saying. No, but it's funny because the media is like, this is a huge deal, and media is like got the orchestral music when they're doing the news coverage. And I was watching Channel 4 yesterday and they went to the national stuff, and it's like this majestic music that they're playing when they're talking about the king and this sort of thing. I'm like, I guess it's a big deal. I just don't care. Where's
the nearest harbor? I'm going to go throw some tea just to get some stress out.
By the way, that when I was in Boston years ago, the tea company whose tea was actually thrown in there, that company still exists.
Ooh.
I actually bought some of their tea, and it had like this Boston Tea Harbor like colonial sort of decor. I should have saved it, but I actually drank the tea because it was really tasty. It was pretty good tea. It didn't taste like the Boston Harbor, at least I hope not. But it was actually pretty good tea. But that company apparently is still around, or either that, or I just got schnookered at the
fell for a tourist trap.
I fell for the tourist trap at the airport gift shop. Is probably what I did.
Dozens of out-of-state law firms are crashing into St. Louis trying to get your business. My advice, rely on a hometown firm. Under Law has been here for years. There are lawyers raising their families right alongside yours. And when you're injured by someone's careless actions, you are entitled to full compensation. You want lawyers who will not bend to big insurance, but will stand defiantly protecting you. Under Law, O-N-D-E-R, underlaw.com. Under wins.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you will be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
Looking for your perfect country escape? Or maybe it's time to sell your horse property or farm? Meet Gina Parmentier with RealtyNet Service Realtors. As a second-generation broker with 29 years of experience, Gina specializes in horse properties, farms, and rural real estate throughout Franklin County and the surrounding St. Louis area. Whether buying or selling, Gina knows the land, and she knows how to get results. Call 314-504-5409. That's 314-504-5409. RealtyNet Service Realtors, where country living meets expert service.
Hey, it's Chris Arps. Becky and I recently discovered a restaurant that's quickly become one of our go-to restaurants, Timothy's in Creve Coeur. Led by executive chef Will Mabry, Timothy serves contemporary American cuisine with a touch of Southern charm. Dishes like pastrami, smoked lamb, and shrimp and grits. My wife absolutely loved the lobster pot pie, and everything we've tried has been incredible. Amazing house-made desserts and over 500 wines to choose from. Enjoy dinner 7 nights a week, plus lunch, brunch, and private events. Timothy's in Creve Coeur at 12710 Olive Boulevard or online at timothysstl.com.
Lower your car payment today. Lower your car payment today. Yes, you heard us right. You can lower your car payment right now by making this free call and save up to $1,400 a year on your current car payments. Think about your current car payment right now. What's that costing you per year? Now think about what it would be like to put an extra $1,400 back in your pocket. That's the average savings our customers experience. We can help you drive the same car and pay less every month by lowering your car payment's interest rate to as low as 4.67%. At Rate Genius, we can work with you to refinance any car payment. If you qualify, it costs you nothing to find out how you can lower your car payment. To learn more, call this number right now.
800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. That's 800-493-5670.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Former FBI Director James Comey proclaims his innocence after being indicted for allegedly advocating the assassination of President Trump. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche says no one, regardless of status or station in life, can do this kind of thing.
Threatening the life of the President of the United States will never be tolerated by the Department of Justice. Over the past year, this department has charged dozens of cases involving threats against all sorts of individuals. We take these seriously, every single one of them.
Comey's accused of arranging seashells on a North Carolina beach in such a way as towards the assassination of the president. He posted a picture of it on social media before taking it down. During his first term in office, President Trump fired Comey, who says he's innocent and is not afraid. Yesterday it was Washington. Today we'll find Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla in New York City. They'll meet with first responders and victims' families, the 9/11 memorial.
During his address to Congress yesterday, King Charles reflected on the attacks which took place 25 years ago this September.
We stood with you then, and we stand with you now in solemn remembrance of a day that shall never be forgotten.
The king noted that NATO came to America's aid in the aftermath of 9/11. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Mineral Wells, Texas, that's about 45 miles west of Fort Worth, has been slammed by powerful storms that sent at least 2 people to the hospital, high winds damaging homes and businesses. Gas prices continue to climb, rising to a national average of $4.22 a gallon. That's according to the AAA. On Wall Street this morning, Dow futures are up 28 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 102 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a super fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and data for just $34.99 a month. But wait, there's more. When you switch to Pure Talk, you'll be switching to an American wireless company that's committed to keeping 100% of its customer service in this country. I appreciate that. In fact, that's why I switched. I also appreciate the way they support our vets and our skilled workforce. Dial pound 250, say micro, and get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. That's pound 250 micro. Stop paying twice what you need to pay for the service you want and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. Tracking partly sunny skies with highs towards the mid-60s into Thursday, 67. Looking dry until the evening hours. A few scattered chances of some showers. Friday, partly sunny, 62 degrees. Looking cooler through Saturday, 63 before we rise. On Sunday, highs towards the mid to upper 70s. Mostly sunny skies. Isolated chances of showers as we look off at some portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Business owners, download your free playbook for financial clarity at SerenityWealthBiz.com. That's SerenityWealthBiz.com.
Hey, folks, Jamie Allman here for Newstedter's Fine Jewelry right there at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend, wowdiamonds.com. It's Wow Diamonds for a reason. These are beautiful lab-grown diamonds. They are gorgeous. They will blind you when you walk in and see them, but that's a good thing. Great engagement sets, wedding sets, all these beautiful God-created gems, sapphires, rubies, you name it, garnets, and also all the gold you need, and the famous bull of a watch, wowdiamonds.com.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story. Video showing police beating Rodney King and the LA riots started on this date.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Boo! Relax, nerd.
Susie Moore.
And that would be a good time to respond with some applause.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
That's a banana republic without the banana.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
One of the themes for today, as far as some of the stuff going on in St. Louis here, is that socialists just say the darndest things sometimes.
We have themes.
We have themes. Today, socialists say the darndest things.
They say the darndest things.
Yep. Politicians who demand that businesses get hurt economically and that kids not be educated. Those are politicians who are not prioritizing their community. They are prioritizing ideology and radical activism, though.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's what's going on is that 5 members, at last count, 5 members of the St. Louis City Board of Alder Critters, along with a bunch of left-wing, fringe, socialist, communist organizations, they're calling for a general strike on St. Louis May 1st. So Mayday. So a large portion of the actual elected city government are calling for a general strike to hurt the community on May 1st.
Because why?
Well, a lot of it is Orange Man bad, and you're protesting the Trump administration, the Republican policies on illegal immigration and everything, the war, because like Voices for Palestine or whatever they're called, they're one of the organizations as well and all this kind of stuff. So Rasheen Aldridge, one of the members of the Board of Aldermen, he went on social media and he's actually saying that this is also about some local stuff too. But the website of the organization that are putting this together with him, they're focused on Trump stuff. And Rasheen Aldridge is among those who are saying, we're also protesting local stuff. Here's what he put on social media. Oh, I guess. My bad. Do the crickets. Yep, there it is.
Mike Ferguson, unplugged.
Very much unplugged. I've only been
See the kind of entertainment you get here on News Talk STL every morning.
I've only been doing this show for 5 years now. So, yeah, okay. All right, here it is. Here's what he put on social media.
My name is Rasheen Aldridge, Alderman of the 14th Ward. Our city's at a critical time right now with the recent May 16 tornado and a police department that's trying to take over our budget. We can't be silent. We must stand up. That's why I'm calling on you and my colleagues to go out on strike on May 1st. No work, no school, no shopping. Join us May 1st at Aloe Plaza at 5:30 to make sure your voice is heard.
Okay, so there it is. He doesn't want kids to go to school, doesn't want college kids to go to school, doesn't want anybody to do any shopping, doesn't want anybody to go out to eat, doesn't want anybody to spend money at the few businesses left in the city. And that's somehow going to make your voice heard. So literally targeting the businesses, literally targeting the economic activity of his own community.
What exactly are the voices going to be heard saying?
Well, we'd have to go to the plaza there to find out, but I have a feeling it's going to be Orange Man bad, Israel bad is all that it's going to be.
Right now, it sounds like a protest about nothing, so it's like the Seinfeld of protests.
Yeah, basically. So I asked Kirk Hilsinger from the St. Louis City GOP to respond to that, and here's what Kirk sent me.
Hello, this is Kirk Hilsinger, Chairman for the Republican Party, City of St. Louis. We see that May 1st is coming upon us, and while the rest of us are enjoying spring, as usual, the far-left socialist wing of the Democrat Party looks for a way not to be productive. Shame on Megan Green, Daniela Valquez, Alicia Sunnier, Laura Keyes, and Rashid Aldridge for being in support of the strike organized by 5051. I guess they have not learned the lesson when Seattle's mayor struck with Starbucks employees, and now Starbucks is moving to Nashville.
So there's also several coffee shops are being targeted by this, and Target, the company, like some of the organizers are going after Caldi's because they want to unionize Caldi's, and Caldi's, which by the way has been a staple of so many parts of St. Louis, and they don't have a union. And so basically you've got every single fringe left-wing socialist thing out there, labor unions, pro-abortion stuff, anti-Israel stuff, anti-Semitic stuff. You've got all of these things rolled into one, and it's part of this national umbrella that they want everybody to stay home and do nothing economically for the entire day on May 1st.
It just seems dumb.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just not sufficiently attuned, but it just seems to me like, okay, you're wanting to make this big statement of some sort, but you're not even really articulating what that is ahead of time for the people that are going to, people are going to show up and do this. People are going to participate because they want to be part of this movement, but do the man on the street interview with them and ask them, what are you protesting?
Right.
What is this about?
Yeah.
And if it's supposed to have an impact on the community, what impact is it that you're hoping it's going to have?
Yeah, and that's who are you when you go on strike? Who are you going on strike against? So if you're part of if you're part of the labor unions, you want to hurt the businesses that don't kowtow to you. So that would be their role in this, and of course this is an intersectional thing here. So unions are not there for your business to succeed. They're there to milk every single penny they can for their members. That's what unions do, and they are by default socialist organizations.
I have a dumb question.
I probably have a dumb answer.
Well, how does striking, just a general strike, hurt only the businesses that aren't unionized and not the businesses that are? Because
if it's a general strike, they're going after all of them. But see, their ideology is paramount over what you're actually doing to your own community.
Right, but if they're saying that this is to put pressure on the businesses that aren't unionized, but it's hurting the businesses that are. It's hurting the very businesses that employ them, the people that are the union members.
Yes.
So it's just hurting everybody across the board because
they can.
Because it's dumb.
Because it's dumb, yes. And then, of course, like I said, the pro-abortion organizations are now part of this as well, because that's the intersectionality stuff, which has nothing to do with union stuff. Anybody out there trying to unionize Planned Parenthood? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think they are.
And then, of course, there's the Voices for Palestine, and there's all of that sort of stuff, as well, that are all part of this. And this is not just St. Louis. This is part of a nationwide group, and everybody's like adding their thing to it.
Oh yeah, the whole 50. What is it?
50-51, I think it is.
51, whatever the heck that is. Yeah, that's a nationwide group.
Right.
Jennifer O'Connell's written on that quite a bit. Yeah. I'm sorry.
You got a right to protest. You got a right to buy stuff or not buy stuff.
Yeah.
But we have a right to go, okay, you're dumb.
Yeah. I'm exercising my right. Can you hear me? Can you hear my voice?
Yeah.
I think it's dumb. I don't think it's going to be productive in any way, shape, or form, but it's going to give you some time on TV.
Right, exactly. So, May 1st coming, just a 2 days
Friday.
From that right now, Friday. So make it a point, on Friday, you buy something.
It's Friday.
If you were going to go, out to eat on the weekend, maybe Friday's the day to do it instead,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Shop local.
Yeah, but here's the thing that jumped out at me is I get that socialists say stupid stuff. Okay, I get this socialism is an evil mindset. It's just shades of gray with communism. But these are people who are elected to advocate for their own community and try to build their community and protect their community, and they're calling specifically to hurt the private sector in their own community.
Mm-hmm.
They're attacking the people in their own community, and every one of these people are going to get reelected.
Well, yeah. It's just sort of the way things seem to work.
Yeah. So that's why I want to see the city thrive, and I would love to see it become more of an uplift for the entire region instead of the drag that it is now on the region. But as long as voters keep putting people like this into office, you've done this to yourself.
Right.
My sympathy is almost gone. It's gone. My sympathy is gone. I'm hoping for better things, but St. Louis City, you did this to yourself, and you're doing this to yourself over and over and over again.
Right. And I'm, it's kind of like a vicious cycle, because then you can't get decent candidates to run because everyone's frustrated with the system and doesn't feel like they can, really make a difference. It's like an uphill battle. But then you continue to have people that don't. I don't want to impute motive. Like, I can't say Rasheen or any of the other critters that are participating in this, like, don't have, in some respects, a desire to see the city do well. But their definition of what that looks like and how they think they're going to get there doesn't seem to line up with, like, the laws of physics.
Right. No, the laws of economics, the
Right.
laws of anything So, and I'm sure because they're so devoted to their ideology, their fringe left ideology, that this is what they're promoting. And to them, this is the highest, best goal, is this communism. Literally one of the main sponsors is the Party of Socialism and Liberation. And we see them active all over the city.
Working really well in New York. I don't know if you've seen.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So their ideology, they're placing their ideology, this communist ideology, over the lives and livelihoods of the people they are actually elected to represent.
That doesn't seem like good governance.
It's terrible governance.
It's not. Well, you know what would be good governance?
What would that be?
To figure out a way to do away with the state income tax.
That's right. The governor had something to say about that.
Yeah, I think he did. And, I think we're going to have something to say about that. You're going to have something to say about that tomorrow night at the Road to Zero Income Tax Town Hall. Thursday, April 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Lodge de Pere, 1050 de Pere Road. You want to join News Talk STL's Mike Ferguson, Senator Nick Schroer, and Representative Ben Keithley for a discussion about the plan to phase out Missouri's income tax. Bring your questions. We want to have a lively conversation. The doors open at 6. The program and question and answer start at 6:30. RSVP now at afpmissouri.com.
Before you blow us all away. Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin car. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Democrat policies don't work, and they destroy every community that they are in charge of.
On News Talk STL.
Democracy is loud, and on Tuesday, June 2nd, you can be right in the middle of it. News Talk STL is bringing the St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate to Lindenwood University in St. Charles at the J. Scheidegger Center for the Arts. No reservations, no tickets, just show up. Can't make it in person? Catch every word live on News Talk STL from 7 to 8:30 p.m. The St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate on June 2nd. Brought to you by the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee, Mid-Rivers News Magazine, Lewis & Clark's Pachyderms Club, and the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Simply Health with Dr. Brian Deloney.
Belly fat isn't just fat. It's inflammatory, hormonal, and dangerous. But the solution isn't a fad diet. It's understanding how these three things work together. We talk about those three things and connect the dots this week.
Simply Health with Dr. Brian Deloney. Saturdays at noon on News Talk STL. To find out more about Simply Health Integrated Medical, log on to simplyhealthintegrated.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com. This is Tony Columbo, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the cheesesteak made with American Wagyu beef from Snake River Farms, and you have to include a side of their amazing fries. I love Capriati's, and you will too.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester of McKnight in Rock Hill. Scott, can you believe it's already been more than a decade since the Queen of Carpet sold flooring to St. Louis area contractors?
I know, but I don't have to be a king to offer contractors today's lowest prices.
Yes, contractors owe it to their customers and themselves to shop at Best Buy Flooring for the largest in-stock selection of carpet, carpet tile, sheet vinyl, laminate, hardwood, luxury vinyl plank, and luxury vinyl tile.
Plus 3 convenient locations, North County, South County, and Metro East.
Open 7 days a week.
Best flooring, best selection, Best Buy. Best Buy Flooring.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Caught an interesting news piece on something happening in the Missouri Capitol. You know, we're talking, a lot of people obviously focused on the midterm elections, and anybody who says, I know exactly what's going to happen in those elections, you're full of crap. You don't know. I mean, the variables change day to day to day as far as how the midterms are going to go.
Speak for yourself. I have a crystal ball.
Okay, well, then we need to start betting some money on that. But in Jefferson City, lawmakers are actually thinking about the next presidential race already. Okay, so there's a bill that would move Missouri back to being a primary election state and just do away with the caucus thing altogether. Because this whole caucus and primary thing has been a mess for years.
Yeah.
And obviously, we went to being a caucus state with this past election, and it turned out to be just a complete cluster something in many, many parts of the state. And both the Republicans and Democrats, like the party leadership, not the legislative party leadership, but like the actual people who are in the political parties themselves, they seem to be agreed. And I saw the article at the Missouri Independent, follow them on Blue Sky, and both of the Republican and the Democratic parties like, well, let's just go back to primaries.
I don't think anyone really benefits from the caucus system. Now, we had the dual system for years and years and years, and people didn't realize it.
Right. And then it became a mess when the Ron Paul folks figured out, wait a minute, technically the law says we allocate the delegates based on the caucuses, but there was always just a sort of gentlewoman's agreement to be inclusive, that once the primary happened, that the caucuses then selected the delegates to reflect the primary. And the folks who were the Ron Paul supporters back in whatever year that was. Yeah, something like that. And they basically went, if we flood them, we can elect our own slate of delegates and just throw the votes to Ron Paul. And there's a lot of legality questions as to whether they could or not, but to some degree, they were at least partially right under the actual rules.
Right. They were reading the rules and going to use them to their advantage.
Right. They were using the Roberts rules, and they were looking at whether or not that was legal within the law, and the law didn't say you couldn't specifically say you couldn't do it. The law didn't say that the caucus votes had to reflect the primary votes. That's just the way that it's always been done. So then we go to the actual caucus, and, all kinds of nonsense breaks out, all over the state on that. So people are basically saying, can we just do primaries now?
Yeah. I mean,
and do away with the caucuses
altogether.
Right.
There's no need for the dual system.
Right.
I haven't heard a solid argument, one that I found persuasive, as to why the caucuses are the preferred way to go.
Yeah, because the only argument that I've heard, and I think it's defensible if you can execute a caucus well, if you can do it well, which I don't think Missouri. I don't think Missouri can do that.
That's a big if.
Iowa has figured it out.
Yeah, because that's what they've always done.
Because that's what they've always done. They know how to do it. The only thing that I have heard that I think is defensible on that is that you can keep the other party out of your elections, and you can keep them out of influencing your elections. That's the only thing that I hear that's kind of defensible.
Maybe, but that's not really an issue in Missouri, to be honest. Maybe since some smaller elections, but not in the major elections, and certainly not in the presidential election. As of right now, it's just not. There's not a worry that there's going to be enough crossover votes to change the outcome.
Because we're talking about, I want to just hang on to that, because we're talking about the presidential primary. We're not talking about like the primaries that are coming up for, auditor
Right.
and all that, or 4 years from now, or 2.5 years after that for governor and whatnot. We're not talking about those. We're talking about the presidential primary.
Right. And right now in Missouri, a crossover from one to the other isn't going to be enough to make a difference, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But you were talking about like Iowa, and of course the Iowa caucus is a tradition, but even they've had trouble. Like they've had trouble getting the final results figured out for the past couple of elections. And so it's like even in a state that's been doing it for years and doing it fairly well, they struggle with it. So to me, the parties are on board, the legislators are on board. I don't know anybody who's big into opposing, doing away with the caucus, unless somebody has it, so it's like their little pet cause. But
And basically, I don't have a problem with somebody saying, let's give this a whirl. But we
Yeah.
also have to go, that didn't work.
yeah, and at what price are you giving it a whirl?
Right.
I mean, you still want a system that actually allows people's voices to be heard. Call back to Rasheen there. At the voting box, or at the ballot box, and it effectively reflects their preference. But the caucus system doesn't seem to do that. All it does seem to do is get a lot of people in a room together and get them all frustrated and mad, and not really accomplish much of anything.
Okay, now the one argument that I think is worth talking about as far as staying with a caucus is somebody says these essentially the political parties are private organizations. These are not governmental institutions. So why are the taxpayers paying for your nomination process? So there's a dollars and cents part of it because these are under a primary system. These are run by the Secretary of State's office, and these are public elections, but they're for the party nominations.
But how else would you do it?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to put all the arguments out there. I think the primary system needs to be better than what we did before, but I think we need to go back to it. What we got?
We've got Dave.
Dave. All right, Dave, give me your hot take on this.
Mike, good morning.
Hello.
My friend. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
I just turned the radio on, and you used a Democrat word, my friend. Please, my Republican friends, conservative friends that I love, stop using Democrat words. There is no such thing as a gentle lady. It's ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, got it.
Please stop. Their words are so stupid. They're stupid people. Mike, when you first came on, I learned to like you. Then I really enjoy your show. Obviously, I call in a lot, but you are such a smart guy. Don't use their terms because you just lower your IQ to them, and they're like at negative a billion.
But I'm trying to be inclusive.
Well, here, Mike, I'm being inclusive for you. I have a double middle finger up for the Democrats.
Okay.
That's one way to be inclusive.
That's one way to do it. Yeah, you're including both hands. I get it.
Exactly. See? No, just we have to stop. We have to stop. I look, politically correct. I have something big I'm sitting on right now. They can feel free to kiss it if they don't like what I say.
Got it.
That's fair.
Thanks so much, man.
That's fair.
Have a good one.
Thanks, guys. Love the show. You already know that.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, one other thing about what's being considered, and this is actually, I think, a very, very, very good thing, is if we bring back the primaries, they're talking about making sure that it's part of one of the Super Tuesdays.
Yes.
Which I would hope all Republicans and all Democrats everybody would be on board, because at this point, and it's been this way for years, Missouri is irrelevant to the nomination process of both parties.
Painfully obvious in 2016.
Yes.
I think that I would be on board with that. I mean, the other thing is that you've suggested this before, like a rotating system, so that no state gets to always hold the monopoly on who gets to go first and who gets stuck going last.
It is absolutely ridiculous that Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina control so much of the nomination process of both of the parties. It is ridiculous. It is stupid. And the fact that both political parties defend that is insane. Because remember, Missouri was going to move its primary up about, 8 or 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And the RNC stripped them of delegates because Missouri said, we want a bigger voice in this.
Yeah.
And the parties punished Missouri for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think should happen is you should divide up all the primaries into, say, 10 5-state primaries, do them regionally, so that the candidates can go saturate different parts of the country, have maybe 10 Super Tuesdays, do it, once every 2 or 3 weeks or whatever the case is. And then every election cycle, you rotate. So you went first in 2028. You're going last in 2032. Everybody gets to be influenced over time, and you rotate them like that.
Imagine what our world would be like if we did that.
Mm-hmm.
And if we, kind of did away with all the mail-in voting and basically had election day with reasonable exceptions. And we just we were talking about this too. Now I forgot what it was. I'm having my senior moment.
You got to fill that coffee.
Fill that coffee up. Anyway, but like if we did, the congressional districts.
Yeah.
So if we did those like on the grid by population,
Mm-hmm.
we did what you just suggested with the primaries, and we had like actual election integrity. I wonder what would happen.
Well, there might be a chance the government would reflect us within the bounds of the Constitution.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe. I'm not going to. We may have gone too far with that.
Is that like just crazy talk to like talk about those basic concepts in terms of like election integrity and fairness?
Yep. I see on Facebook, Scooter says having the Missouri presidential primary on Super Tuesday is a great idea. This Democrat supports it. And
Yay.
Scooter, actually, your party leadership, according to that article, supports that as well. I don't see any reason why any Democrat or any Republican would oppose that.
Common ground.
Yeah, exactly. Because Missouri's left behind on this nomination process. I mean, I didn't go to the caucuses because it didn't matter. It didn't make any difference. But I'll show up to a primary even when we don't count. But we should be part of that Super Tuesday. We should make sure that the candidates have to pay attention to us. That we're not just sort of rubber stamping whatever Iowa and whatever New Hampshire and whatever South Carolina has already said.
Agreed.
I just realized today is?
What is today?
Bump Day! It's that special time of the week where we start issuing calls for 80s-themed bump music requests for Flashback Friday. So go ahead and send me what you want to hear from the 80s. I am checking. It has to have been on the Billboard charts in 1980 to 1989 to be considered, but send me your 80s bump music requests for Flashback Friday to Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Can you tell me what is queering the map?
So I think we were trying to make the maps more gay.
Literally?
How
do you make a map more gay?
I mean,
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. Tracking partly sunny skies with highs towards the mid-60s into Thursday, 67. Looking dry until the evening hours. A few scattered chances of some showers. Friday, partly sunny, 62 degrees. Looking cooler through Saturday, 63 before we rise. On Sunday, highs towards the mid to upper 70s. Mostly sunny skies. Isolated chances of showers as we look off into portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
Craving seafood but worried it'll be too spicy or break the bank? La Juicy Seafood in O'Fallon has you covered. They're not your typical seafood joint. Choose from 5 spice levels, including not spicy, so everyone can enjoy our famous Cajun boils. Bring the family, doodle on the tables, enjoy the full bar with legendary margaritas, and feel right at home. La Juicy Seafood, 373 Winding Woods Drive, O'Fallon. Call 696-924-9171.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Speaking with Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway.
I'm particularly concerned about the products that are really aimed at kids that look like Skittles, Chips Ahoy cookies, Doritos that contain THC. So these places are selling pot, but they're also selling these other products that you can't make any argument but that they are targeted at kids.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Grab your shotgun and mark your calendar. The 11th annual Jeff Hansen Memorial Foundation Sporting Clay event is Saturday, May 16th at Black Hawk Valley Hunting Preserve in Old Monroe, Missouri. Enjoy 56 clays, breakfast, and lunch, all included for just $195 per person. Or enter a team of 4 with a golf cart for $750. There will be door prizes, gun raffles, and trophies for top teams and top shooters. Reserve your spot by May 8th at JeffHansenMemorialFoundation.org.
You talk about race relations.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity. And I'm sick and tired of it.
1019 and 94.1.
I find it to be a conversation starter.
News Talk STL.
Wasting, out of work and down. All inside, it's so frustrating as I drink from town to town. Feels though nobody cares if I let one die. So I might as well begin to put some action in my life. Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Okay, law enforcement in Illinois, they warned us. They warned the assembly, they warned the governor, but the politicians didn't listen. And now the ramifications of the SAFE-T Act are coming back to haunt the state, including resulting or having a role, I should say, in at least one police officer being shot in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And the judge looking saying, this is what the law says.
Mm-hmm.
I got to let the guy out. And so exactly what was warned is coming to fruition.
Go figure.
Yeah, imagine that. All right, that's Susie. We got producer Jerome here. I'm Mike. Are we good to go, Jerome? Okay. Now we're joined by our friend, retired police chief Tom Weitzel. And Tom's actually got a new role with another organization. We'll talk about that here in just a minute as well. But I'm looking at the op-ed that you wrote. Judge pointed to SAFE-T Act, or the story that covered this. Judge pointed to SAFE-T Act, freed suspected cop killer on ankle monitor, and then quoting over the state's rigorous objection. This was from the CWB Chicago website, Tom. Chief, appreciate you being on the program here. This is what you were warning on this show was going to happen quite a while ago, and now it's happening. What was the chain of events that led to that, and the judge basically throwing his hands up going, this is what the law says. We're trying to tell you that this isn't a good thing. Uh-oh, do we not have the chief?
I can see him.
Chief, you there?
We give him a call.
Yeah, let's give him a call.
Yeah.
We're gonna give him a call just to make sure that we can get him on there. And so this is one of those situations where it's not isolated to this. And the thing is that they didn't even try to do some reform. It wasn't even a matter of reform. Like there are other states, like conservative groups, like Right on Crime.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying, no, there are criminal justice reforms that we can do.
Sure.
But you've got to scale it. There's a difference between the man or the woman, who was convicted of shoplifting and letting that drop off your record after so many years versus somebody who's murderous.
Right.
And there needs to be higher distinctions, but in so many cases, everything gets swept into the same bucket of reform, even if it's demonstrably dangerous.
Right. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's well thought out. It's just like this idealistic way of doing things, and it doesn't work for this type of situation.
So we've got the chief here, and Chief, I'm sorry about the technical problem there. And so let's pick this up. Judge pointed to SAFE-T Act and freed a suspected cop killer, put him on an ankle monitor. What happened there? And then we're going to get into why on earth won't the Illinois lawmakers put away their ideological blinders and start to listen to reality on this? So what actually happened?
Yeah, good morning. So whatever had actually happened is the judge released him. So he has a long criminal history, 21 prior arrests, 8 felonies. He has numerous failure to appear warrants. In fact, he was wanted on 2 warrants when he committed this heinous crime. He was also wanted by the Department of Corrections for not following parole provisions. They had revoked. Nobody was looking for him, so he had been wanted for several months, but there's no warrant teams in Illinois going around looking for anybody, which is really important, because if they had looked for him and arrested him, this murder would have never taken place.
And by this murder, Chief, we're talking about a law enforcement officer.
Right. We're talking about a line-of-duty death, and then another officer shot in the head who is reportedly fighting for his life right now as we speak. So you have both officers shot in the head. The story is that he smuggled a gun, and this individual's heavy set. He had been lost some weight. He went from 340 to 280. He has places that you can hide a small gun that he's reported to have had. And, yeah, they missed it. So did the hospital. The hospital made a statement that they wanted him with the magnet, and it did not go off. So when they asked him to take his clothes off to get in the hospital gown, he pulled the gun out, shot both officers, and then shot the window out of the exam room to get out of the facility and jumped out the window. And this guy should have never been out of custody. It's rare that I will tell anybody in public that there are crimes that are 100% preventable. This brutal line-of-duty police murder was 100% preventable.
Good morning, Chief. This is Susie Moore. Walk us through, I mean, we talked a lot about the Safety Act when it was first being discussed and then when it was passed. But from a procedural standpoint, what is it about the law that led to someone like this being let out?
So, I was opponent to the law initially. It was a never good law. It was passed at 5 a.m. in the morning, no police input. And there's provisions in it that allow the judge to take any steps available to release an individual instead of incarcerate them. So the burden is on the state to prove that he should be incarcerated, but the judge does not have to take the advice of the state's attorney in this case. And they're not bound to look at his criminal history. That's no longer a requirement. They're not bound the law to look at his histories for appearing in court. Like, has he skipped court 10 times? That's a clear indication that he's not going to continue to show up. They set the bar so high at whether somebody's going to return to court that it's almost impossible. And a clear example of that, if the judge has to show that steps were taken that he or she would flee. And what I mean by that is you could have 10 times that you didn't show up in court. But if you didn't go out and buy a plane ticket, they can prove you bought a plane ticket, or they can prove you're going to go to your relative's house in Florida. If the state can't prove that, they cannot consider your failure to appear, which is ridiculous because that's way too high a burden for the state to meet. And one other provision that really is terrible is they don't lock you up when you're rearrested. So if you get a chance to be on electronic monitoring one time, if you're rearrested while you're on electronic monitoring, they don't hold you in custody, which is one of the biggest pieces of this legislation that is flawed. If you violate the rules of you're already been given a break to be out on electronic monitoring, then you get rearrested, I'm of the opinion that you must be held in custody, period. Well, the state of Illinois does not agree with that.
Yeah, and that's one of the reforms that you had another op-ed where you were recommending that. I mean, even though this was pretty popular with the Democrats, and obviously in Illinois, the Democrats in the assembly are really far left as well, and they just dominated. Are you getting the sense that even some of them, maybe from the central or the southern parts of the state, that what Democrats are in the southern part of the state, that they're going, okay, we do have to revisit this? What are some reforms that could realistically be considered in Illinois? Because I don't see the governor wanting to get rid of the Safety Act for whatever reason, but are there some tweaks and reforms to it that would make it not as bad?
Yes, for sure. And I do not see the Democrats even budging. In fact, the Black Caucus leadership in Springfield put out a press release last week, and there was media stories on that, quote, they believe the Safety Act is working just fine. Now, the governor has said he's open to tweaks for the first time in 5 years since the law was passed. And some common sense reforms could be expanding to qualified offenses, meaning there's many offenses that you cannot hold somebody for, period. Burglary is an example, aggravated fleeing and eluding, aggravated battery to a police officer. So you could physically attack a police officer, put that officer in the hospital, and it's not a mandatory detention. You could get rid of what they call the prong system. So to be able to weigh criminal histories, the judge has to meet 3 prongs. It's way too high of a bar in hypothetical conditions that I just mentioned earlier. They could eliminate essential movement days. Those are days that when you're put on electronic monitoring, they give you 3 free days a month, just 3 free days to do whatever you want. The law says it's for going to the hospital, medical appointments, going to church, going to school. Well, that is complete BS. That doesn't happen. There's documented cases of individuals being rearrested while on essential movement, and we still keep those days. And one of the most ridiculous pieces of this legislation is if you don't show up in court, first they deliver you or mail you a postcard, sometimes 2 and 3 times. And defendants never give their real address. I'm telling you that to your listeners. When you're booked into custody, the defendants will give old addresses, they'll give family addresses, they'll make up addresses. I myself arrested people who the address was Lake Michigan in the city of Chicago. That was the physical address they gave.
Wow. I mean, it's nice to be on the lakefront, but I don't think that's anyone's actual
That's not
address.
what they meant, yeah.
Chief, was this particular situation, was it one where the judge's hands were kind of tied, and in order to follow the law, he was basically compelled to let this guy loose? And the follow-up question to that is there any pushback coming from the prosecutors and or the judges because they're seeing this in practice and recognizing just how messed up it is?
Well, I think this particular judge, he was following the law to the max, okay? But the problem with Judge Likes is that defendant, that individual that murdered the Chicago police officer and then shot his partner, that defendant appeared in front of the same judge numerous times previous, and he let him out over and over, even having violent criminal offenses on his record and committing a violent criminal offense. In fact, he said in open court that he believed that the defendant's brain wasn't fully developed and didn't understand the consequences, and that was only 8 months ago. Okay, so he's 26 years old. So that's 8 months ago. So when did the judge become a neurosurgeon? I mean, when did the judge become a medical doctor? That type of statement alone in the first appearance court itself is ludicrous. It means that the judge is more of an activist than he is a judge. I mean, he's not following protocol. You could easily, this defendant, you could miss his name was Talley, Mr. Talley. You could easily find reasons to hold him. And I would say the number one reason would be his violent criminal history. And that what's happened in Illinois is your criminal history doesn't matter at all anymore. It used to be a very important part of bond court, but once they got rid of bond court, they don't consider your criminal history at all.
That's just insane. All right, Chief Tom Weitzel, retired from Riverside Police Department as well. Now, we've talked about you with your work with Awake Illinois, but you're also now, in the last minute or so we've got here, you've now joined Behind the Badge as part of their advisory council. I'm not familiar with the group, but they're pretty excited to have you. What does Behind the Badge do?
Yeah, so I do work with, I'm a fellow of law enforcement at Awake Illinois. I'm honored to have that position. And then I recently, just last week, was appointed to the Citizens Behind the Badge Advisory Council, which is a national organization based out of McLean, Virginia. And they have asked me to work with their organization on federal legislation. So they understand my role with Awake Illinois on state legislation. They said that they were impressed with what we were doing at Awake, and they asked me to help and serve on their board to push pro-police federal legislation in Washington, D.C., so I'm honored to do that, and I'll actually just started this week.
All right. I just put the link up for that on our Rumble chat box as well. All right, Chief Tom Weitzel, thank you for the update. I mean, we're seeing the responses that we're getting in real time on this, and when people are finding out directly the consequences of what the left wing has done in Illinois, it's just infuriating people, as it should. So we want to keep up with what you and Awake Illinois and Behind the Badge are doing. What's the way to be in touch?
Well, my report for reforms under the Safety Act is at the Awake Illinois website. You can go to Awake Illinois, to their website or their social media accounts. You can follow us there. You can follow me on X at Chief Weitzel. That's ChiefWeitzel. I'm also on TikTok, and I'm also on Substack. You can Google me and find me there. And as far as Behind the Badge, you can just Google them, and you will see the federal legislation that we will be working on to make America safer.
Thanks, Chief. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chief. All right. Speaking of law enforcement, we have a question for you.
Yes.
Should an Instagram post regarding shells on the beach, should that lead to criminal charges? And at 6:50, we're going to explain why James Comey was indicted for the second time.
phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
Have you noticed mattress stores are dramatic? Final clearance, last chance, going out of business every single weekend. Relax. Snooze Mattress and Wellness is locally owned, family owned, and we don't do fake urgency. We use advanced sleep technology trusted by NASA and the Mayo Clinic to fit you to the right mattress, based on your body, not a sales quote. No gimmicks, no games, just better sleep. Snooze Mattress and Wellness. Finally, a mattress store you'll love.
Don't miss a baseball showdown at Busch Stadium when Shohei Ohtani and the LA Dodgers roll into the Lou, May 1st through the 3rd. Kick off the weekend with Friday Night Live and a must-have short-sleeve hoodie giveaway. Saturday brings a Mason Wynn bobblehead, celebrating his Gold Glove Award. Then Sunday features a sleek blade collar shirt giveaway. Big names, big matchups, and big giveaways all weekend long. Tickets at cardinals.com/promotion.
This is Mason Wynn. Get your tickets at cardinals.com.
The 1-2, and that's grounded up the middle. Diving play, Mason Wynn to his feet. He throws, he got him.
What's up, Cardinals fans? Mason Wynn here. On Saturday, May 2nd, when we face the Dodgers, you can take home the Mason Wynn Gold Glove bobblehead, presented by the Shane Company. It's got my chain, my first gold glove, my whole look, just how I rock it. Plus, a few rare all-gold baubles will be randomly mixed in for 500 lucky fans. This is one you won't want to miss. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com/promotions.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, this is Vince Colonnese. I'll talk to you tonight at 8, but now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show on News Talk STL.
All right, left-wing activists join St. Louis City politicians, and they're calling for a boycott that is designed to hurt the city they represent, to hurt the economic foundation of the city that they represent, what's left of it.
I believe that's called cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Yeah. And James Comey's hot take on a beach results in criminal charges after the DOJ investigates his seashells for a year. That's not code for something dirty, actually investigating his seashells for a year here. And King Chuck is in the U.S. to see what we've done with the place since kicking his ancestors' butts 250 years ago.
He's pretty good-natured about that, I would say.
He seems to be. All right, 6:51 right now. Let's go ahead and do a news dump here.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
All right, and away we go. 5 St. Louis City aldermen, along with activist groups that include the Party for Socialism and Liberation, labor union activists, pro-illegal immigration groups, and pro-abortion activists, among others, they are calling for a general strike this weekend. That's what they're calling it. Now, while most of the protest is aimed at Republican and the Trump administration's policies, Alderman Rasheen Aldrich says on social media that is also about some local issues as well. Here's what he put up on social media.
My name is Rasheen Aldrich, Alderman of the 14th Ward. Our city is at a critical time right now with the recent May 16 tornado and a police department that's trying to take over our budget. We can't be silent. We must stand up. That's why I'm calling on you and my colleagues to go out on strike on May 1st. No work, no school, no shopping. Join us May 1st at Aloe Plaza at 5:30 to make sure your voice is heard.
All right, the general strike, as they're calling it, and the rally that is scheduled for May 1st. And basically, it's going to be a left-wing smorgasbord of anything and everything.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's kind of free for all. Come with your cause du jour and celebrate it in some way.
Yep. All right.
But don't buy anything to do it.
Right, but don't buy anything unless somebody's there selling you a communist fist
They
T-shirt.
should be
or
giving those
something like
away.
that. Yeah, because you
Those
have it and
shouldn't-
they don't.
Right. Well, right, and they shouldn't be charging money for that.
Yeah, because that's oppression.
That's capitalism.
Or something like that. Yep. All right. That didn't take long. Six Flags is bringing back the chaperone policy.
Oh.
I want to talk about this a little bit. It starts this weekend. A series of fights involving about 100 juveniles caused the park to close early on the first day of the season last weekend. So starting Saturday, anybody 16 years old or younger will have to be accompanied by a chaperone who's at least 21. Chaperone must have a photo ID, be reachable by phone, and they have to stay in the park while the minors are there. There are other restrictions as well. I want to go into more depth on this here in just a little bit.
Okay.
Because we knew this was coming. They don't have a
Yep.
choice.
Yep.
And this is not Six Flags does not want to have to put this out there in the media. But they have to do this.
Yep.
They just...
It's going to ruin the season if they don't.
Yep, precisely. All right. An Instagram post from 2025 is now resulting in a federal indictment against James Comey. Okay, here's the story.
Last year, Comey posted a beach photo of seashells in the shape of the numbers 8647. 86 is slang for get rid of, and administration officials asserted that Comey was advocating the assassination of Donald Trump, the 47th president. At the time, Comey said it was simply a political message, and he deleted the post. The indictment is the second criminal case the Justice Department has brought against the former FBI director. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Okay, so I want to go into more depth. I think a 7:05 because I'm going to ask everybody to start sending me or get ready to call us with your hot takes on this. But Susie, your initial impression, a federal indictment. Kash Patel says we've been investigating this post for a year, and they've now gotten a federal indictment for threatening to assassinate the president because of the Instagram post. I mean, listen, James Comey weaponized and abused the system against President Trump. There's no question about that. He's a louse of a human being. We overshooting here on this?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I think there's going to be some First Amendment issues with it. And
Right.
I did note that it's being brought in the Eastern District of North Carolina. So it's
Right.
not in D.C. or Northern Virginia, which is, you get a more favorable jury pool. But I think it's an uphill battle to prove what you need to prove, which is basically going to be the intent.
Right. And with this case here, and that's what I want to talk about at 7:05, about 10 minutes from now. Everybody get ready to tell me, because I think we instinctively say, that guy sucks, go get him, I don't care what it takes. But there are some bigger questions involved on this.
Well, yeah, there are.
Yeah. Okay, let's get ready to talk about that. All right, former St. Louis alderman is sentenced to prison for fraud and for lying to the FBI.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, KMOV's Corey Stark has the details on what led to that 16-month sentence.
Federal jury found Brandon Bosley guilty of 4 felonies back in January. After an accident in 2021, prosecutors say he inflated the cost of needed repairs to get thousands more from an insurance company. In the sentencing, it also cited an Ethics Commission finding, which concluded Bosley used campaign money on personal expenses, failing to report hundreds of improper expenditures.
You know, just the tradition of sending politicians to prison in St. Louis. It's kind of like Illinois. Eventually you send them to prison.
The pipeline.
Oh, my goodness. The city hall to prison pipeline. All right. King Chuck III, I think technically known as King Charles III, and Queen Camilla met with President Trump and spoke to a joint session of Congress on Tuesday on their visit to the U.S. To mark the country's 250th birthday, which I don't think they're sore about that anymore. But you know,
They seem, as I said, pretty good natured about
They've
it.
accepted it. All right, delivering remarks at a White House state dinner, the king says he looks forward to continuing Britain's special relationship with the U.S.
Let us raise our glasses and voices as we toast the past, the present, and the future. Thank you. Of our two proud and allied nations. To the United States and the United Kingdom, God bless both our countries.
Okay, so this is Charles' first visit to the United States as king. Yep. All right, Cardinals got a win over the Pirates yesterday, evening up that series. Final score was 11-7 in Pittsburgh.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Are you tired of hard chlorinated water drying your skin out, tasting bad, and ruining your fixtures? Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to this pollution. Our Hydratech H2O leaves you with great tasting, soft water at all fixtures in your home with one unit. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit us on the web at joneswater.com. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water, 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
I'm in my late 60s. My husband died a few years ago. He did all of our taxes. I sold a piece of property last year, and I forgot to claim the proceeds of the sale. Next thing I know, I got a letter from the IRS telling me that I owe over $50,000. Now I have a huge tax problem. I don't have that kind of money. I wish I knew who to call.
If you sold property in the last calendar year or didn't claim all of your part-time or even retirement income, you could be in big trouble with the IRS. Call first before they send you a letter. If you've already got a letter, call. We'll help you file years of past tax returns and save you time and money. So call the tax doctor. The call is confidential and free.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019-941 STL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. Amrit Thomason. He says he is innocent and unafraid. Former FBI Director James Comey indicted. This stems from his posting of a photo on social media and what that photo is said to represent.
Last year, Comey posted a beach photo of seashells in the shape of the numbers 8647. 86 is slang for get rid of, and administration officials asserted that Comey was advocating the assassination of Donald Trump, the 47th president. At the time, Comey said it was simply a political message, and he deleted the post. The indictment is the second criminal case the Justice Department has brought against the former FBI director. Greg Clugston, Washington.
First responders and victims' families meet today with Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla, the 9/11 memorial in New York City. Yesterday, the King addressed a joint meeting of Congress, speaking of the ties that bind the U.S. and the U.K.
From the bitter divisions of 250 years ago, we forged a friendship that has grown into one of the most consequential alliances in human history.
Last night, it was a state dinner honoring the royal couple at the White House. Iran's national currency has hit a record low of 1.8 million to $1 US as a shaky ceasefire with the U.S. and Israel holds, and as the U.S. blockades Iranian ports. Economists warn the fall of the currency, the rial, is likely to further fuel inflation already raging out of control in Iran. Secretary of War Hegseth about to face questions at a congressional hearing for the first time since the Iran war began. Today's hearing before the House Armed Services Committee will focus specifically on the administration's $1.5 trillion military budget for 2027. The Dow futures down 4 points. NASDAQ futures up 83 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Now there's a new way to take charge of your blood sugar. Introducing New Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula from the makers of the nation's best-selling garlic supplement. New Garlic helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels with clinically supported levels of garlic, plus a custom blend of vitamins and minerals, and it's odor-free. Take charge of your blood sugar with New Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Spring cleaning isn't just for your house, it's for your life. If your job is getting old, it's time to clear the clutter and spring into IT. Go to My Computer Career.
My Computer Career helped me get the skills and certifications I needed to start a new life as an IT professional in months, not years.
Earn the certifications the top employers are looking for right now. Visit mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation to see if it's time to spring into IT. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast, tracking partly sunny skies with highs towards the mid-60s into Thursday, 67, looking dry until the evening hours, a few scattered chances of some showers. Friday, partly sunny, 62 degrees, looking cooler through Saturday, 63 before we rise on Sunday, highs towards the mid to upper 70s, mostly sunny skies, isolated chances of showers as we look off into portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you will be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
Dreaming about a vacation but not sure where to start? Should you book that all-inclusive resort or a cruise? Which destination? What cruise line? And how do you know you're getting the best value? That's where Magic Expeditions comes in. We're your St. Louis local travel experts, helping you choose the vacation that fits. Whether a relaxing, adults-only escape, family-friendly resort, or unforgettable cruise adventure, skip the stress, the guessing, and endless online searching. Visit MagicExpeditions.com. That's MagicExpeditions.com.
Mike Ferguson.
What is that private pile? Sir, jelly donut, sir. A jelly donut?
Susie Moore.
Mama don't like tattletales.
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
I do think the whole thing about the Comey indictment is, I think it's fascinating. I think it's weird. I think it's, I don't know. I think we might have to ask ourselves questions we don't want to ask ourselves a little bit.
Ask away.
All right, so 7:20. I definitely want to go into more detail on that. And I've got a soundbite from Todd Blanche talking about the charges, and then James Comey obviously responding to that as well. So we'll dig into that just a little bit here. But how about this? The Southern Poverty Law Center, with the indictments that happened on there, that doesn't look to me like this is weaponization of government. It looks like they may have the goods on it if they can prove what they say they can prove on this. Is this just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to some of these activist groups that are nonprofits as well? Could there be more in the pipeline for these types of groups?
One suspects there might be.
Mike O'Neill from our friends at the Landmark Legal Foundation joins us right now. And Mike, this is an interesting thing because we obviously covered when the Southern Poverty Law Center indictments were announced. And, you know, we covered that in depth, especially with Susie and her legal background here. Sure. But we're talking about not just the use of the money and the representation to the donors. We're talking about this being connected with political violence as well. So start with the Southern Poverty Law Center. We've had time to kind of digest what the accusations are, but could there be more investigations into similar activist groups? I mean, I don't have a problem with an advocacy group being nonprofit, but that's not what this is really about.
Right. I mean, this was, and I'm sure you guys have gotten into this as you were just saying, Mike, is to ensure your own relevance, you're actually kind of funding, and that's at the heart of this, right? They were manufacturing, or allegedly, let's just be very clear here, these are indictments, this is allegedly, they're entitled to the presumption of innocence with all those provisos in play here. It appears that they were funding groups to ensure their own relevance, opposition groups, hate groups, or right extremist groups to ensure their own relevance, right? And I think that's questionable, and that's kind of a really interesting meta issue here is what happens when some of these societal problems are fixed or are solved? Are there efforts to continue to ensure the continuation of your own relevance by funding opposition? I mean, we think about this. There's different ways to go about doing this. Of course, the SPLC allegedly was very obvious in it. I mean, actually allegedly funneling money to the Ku Klux Klan to manufacture events or to manufacture events to ensure their relevancy. It's kind of an interesting business context, right? You spend $3 or $4 million or $2 or $3 million or a couple $100,000 on a particular event, and then you're able to fundraise $50 to $100 million off it. I guess it makes sense from a business perspective. But then, of course, it's abusing. It's not only allegedly criminal indictment here. There's also the problem with the fact that these groups are exempt organizations, and the IRS has a role to play in this. There's a division within the IRS called the Tax Exempt Government Entities Division that's tasked with ensuring that organizations that are tax-exempt organizations are in compliance with the tax law, the tax code. We, and I can say we because I'm part of Landmark Legal Foundation, which is an exempt organization, is we are compelled and we are obligated to ensure that our disclosure, our forms, everything is in compliance with the tax code. We enjoy special privileges. Of course, donations are tax deductible. Donations to SPLC or to Landmark Legal Foundation are tax deductible. And so because of this, we enjoy these privileges. We should be held to a higher standard. And it's incumbent, of course, upon the IRS TEGE division to ensure that groups are in compliance with the tax laws. And when they're not, then there should be audits and revocation of exempt status. I think when you elevate it to the fact that a lot of these groups receive government money, that's an even higher level of scrutiny. If you're receiving government grants, Landmark doesn't receive government grants, but a lot of these groups receive government grants. If you're getting $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 annually from the taxpayer, I think you should be held to an even higher standard of scrutiny. But I think that really kind of highlights a lot of the problems that goes on right now, not only with groups like the SPLC, but I think larger, the exempt organizations and the level of grift that's going on in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, Mike, I mean, you get the sense that this really is just the tip of the iceberg, that sort of there's this sort of institutional structure, the systemic setup where you've got this self-perpetuating machine that, thrives from donor dollars and then tax dollars on top of that. I'm wondering, though, kind of on a side note, do we see there being, in addition to the criminal action brought against the Southern Poverty Law Center, do we see there being potential civil actions being filed against them?
I would think so, right? I mean, a couple of things to address that. I think civilly, I don't know if there's a donor standing issue here. That's an issue. If you give money under false pretenses and you're sold that your donations are used to fund supposedly to combat hate, and then there's a line there that says, well, wait a minute, my money was going to fund the KKK? Are you kidding me? I gave you $50,000 to combat hate groups, supposedly quote unquote hate groups, right? To in conformance with their mission, and then that money was used for something else. Is there a donor standing issue there? That's one aspect. But another aspect, I guess, civilly is the IRS, right? That's an administrative agency with civil enforcement capabilities, and I think that's certainly in the play in the pipeline there. If I were in the TEGE division, if I were a part of the IRS, I would be. If they're not already doing it, I think the SPLC would certainly be on my audit list because I want to ensure. And it's always been a little off with them. They held their money, at least reportedly. I think they held their money in offshore bank accounts, and we're not talking a little bit of money here. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in assets. So they were an incredibly wealthy organization. And that's kind of interesting too. Is you're talking about a 501c3 tax-exempt organization with hundreds of millions of dollars in offshore accounts. That alone should raise alarm bells, right? Why would you want to keep your money in accounts in the Caymans or in the Bahamas or in Bermuda as opposed to domestic bank accounts? That in and of itself, I think, raises a red flag. But certainly from a civil perspective, Susie, what you're talking about is I don't know whether there's a donor standing issue. That's something interesting to explore. But of course, civilly, I think an investigation by the Internal Revenue Service should be in the cards.
I also wonder if some of the targets of the SPLC, at least in recent years, might have some basis for suing them. And maybe not defamation, but if they kind of promoted the actions that were taken against those groups, I wonder if there's some room there for some litigation.
Or the designation of as a hate group. Yeah. I think that, remember, they've held themselves out as this paragon of virtue, and the left has kind of adopted this talking point that if you're an SPLC designated hate group, I mean, I think that there might be some civil liability exposure possibly there if you suffer damages. I mean, and it's at the point where it's ridiculous. I mean, people who say anything virtually get onto their radar and are designated a hate group. And I think that you could quantify damages on that. So I think certainly that could be in the cards. From an institutional perspective, I can't imagine why anybody in their right mind would give any money to this organization going forward when ostensibly a lot of these groups, and again, I don't know if the SPLC does this, but a lot of these groups are kind of operate as almost quasi-shakedown organizations, give us money or else sort of thing. You don't want to run afoul of us. So again, I'm not saying that the SPLC does that. I'm saying that that's the sort of modus operandi for a lot of organizations too. So certainly there is some exposure there. I would guess, because of the width and breadth of this indictment and the seriousness of the allegations, I would think that I can't imagine how anybody in their right mind, but again, I can't get into the leftist mind at this point, but ever want to contribute to that sort of organization going forward.
Yeah, I mean, that was what Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Push Coalition was accused of. That's what Al Sharpton has been accused of, is the shakedown thing. Yeah. We're visiting with Michael Kneale from our friends at the Landmark Legal Foundation. Okay, so to wrap up, last couple minutes we got here, Mike, and kind of a two-parter, I guess, dual question is, are there other nonprofits that maybe have set themselves up to be next in line to be investigated? And then are there any concerns that going after these type of activist groups could go too far and threaten any nonprofit advocacy group? Because being a nonprofit and doing advocacy work, I don't have a problem with that. So how do we make sure that we go after the bad actors but preserve the rights of the good actors?
Yeah, that's a fantastic. Let me just hit your second question, and then we can get back to the first. I think that it's an interesting box you're opening up here, right? And I've talked about this, and I've wrestled with this personally as a conservative, and I talk about the TEGE division in the IRS and empowering them. I think that there's a lot of grift that goes on. I mean, look at the $2 trillion that went out at the end of the Biden administration in the forms of all kinds of environmental justice grants and all of that money. And there should be some accountability. I'd venture to say that a lot of that went to NGOs, right? A lot of that was on your way out the door. Let's make sure that this favored NGO has enough money to go forward, so at least we can have some sort of, opposition kind of opposition in funded going into the Trump administration. So that money went out. So I want to think that there should be some empowerment. Again, I'm loath to say this because I wrestle with this. This is a conflict. I'm actually saying, should we empower the TEGE division, this division within the Internal Revenue Service that's tasked with investigating this, with more power? Again, I recognize the inherent contradiction there, Mike, is that I'm saying we should give more power to a federal bureaucracy, particularly the IRS, and we know all the dangers that are inherent with that. I kind of weigh the equities here, and I got to come down on the side of I want to see more robust enforcement actions by the IRS in this. I can't believe I'm actually saying that. But when you actually look at it, I understand the conflict there, but when you actually look at it and you look at the amounts of money that we're talking about here, we're talking about billions and billions of dollars that are going out to fund left-wing leftist organizations. Contrast it with the few organizations on the right that receive that I don't think receive a lot of government grants, but organizations like Landmark, for example, there's not a lot of people on the right. And you contrast that with the massiveness of on the left, and you have to say maybe robust enforcement efforts are called for at this time. And again, I come to that position very, very reluctantly, understanding the history of how the IRS has abused its power and authority in the past. What was your first question? I'm so sorry. I was so caught up in your second question.
I mean, could there be other ones, other activist groups? Right. Because, again, there are a lot of good conservative groups that do this type of thing. But on the left, are there any other possible types of suspects out there for this?
Yeah, I think you want to start to track this, and I think the EPA under Lee Zeldin is doing a good job of this, clawing back some of these grants. I think you start with that, right? You say, okay, who were the groups that received millions? You set a threshold amount. What group received hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in environmental grants towards the end of at the end of the Biden administration, the waning days there, and you start to track the money. Again, what's interesting here is there's a lot of resources at play here. This sort of indictment coming down on the SPLC invariably was the product of, I'm sure, just massive amounts of manpower and investigatory capacities. And the federal government, these investigative agencies, whether the IRS or the FBI or the DOJ or what have you, all have limited resources, so they can only do so much. But yeah, I would start, and I think the EPA is doing that internally, trying to claw back some of that money that was made. But again, you start to take the low hanging fruit, and you start to take the big big organizations that presumably received a lot of money from the IRS in the waning days of the Biden administration. Excuse me. I want to say Obama administration, but I think he was really behind the scenes with all of the Biden administration. But the Biden administration, and I think you start from there and you kind of work your way through it. So certainly there should be some more exposure for other groups.
Yeah, that's
at least from a civil perspective.
That's going to make the purple-haired demographic of Congress very, very angry. I'm just saying on that. All right,
Oh, boy.
Michael Kneale, Landmark Legal Foundation. As always, we've already tagged you on social media. Let's put out the website so people can get in touch with questions or if they want to get involved.
Yeah, landmarklegal.org, and you can see our Facebook and our Twitter at Landmark Legal Foundation. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Mike. Thank you, Susie.
You got it.
Yep. Hey, we've already been talking about this, but just want to remind you again, tomorrow night is the big event at the Lodge de Pere from 6 to 8 p.m. It is the Road to Zero Income Tax Town Hall, and it's a town hall. We want you to come. We want you to come with questions and ask Mike. Pepper Mike with all your questions because he's going to be there, right?
Bring it. Bring me the toughest questions. I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to hit that question head on. Nick, Ben, what do you think?
All of those, yes. Nick will be there. Ben Keithley will be there, and we want to see you and hear your questions and have a conversation about it. Lodge de Pere tomorrow night. If you're going to go, though, you do need to RSVP with afpmo.com.
Indifferent. Stop it right now before you blow us all away. Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Mike Ferguson in the morning
I like it, but they're going a little overboard with the dancing.
on News Talk STL.
All right, you've heard me talk about Window World before. They are one of only 2 replacement windows with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval, and they're ranked number 1 in the country for number of windows sold by Qualified Remodeler magazine. They've been doing this for over 20 years, helping improve the look and energy efficiency of more than 80,000 homes right here in St. Louis. And the St. Louis location has been owned, operated, and managed by born and raised St. Louisans for more than 23 years. So if you've been thinking about new windows, you can call today for a free home estimate at 1-800-GET-WINDOWS. What I like about Window World is the product itself. Their windows are durable, they're secure, they're energy efficient, they're built with double-strength glass that you do not typically see in replacement windows. And you're covered with a lifetime warranty that includes parts, glass, breakage, and labor, which is a big deal. They don't just do windows either. Window World can also help with siding, with doors, basically everything on your exterior except a roof or garage door. And here's something a lot of companies don't offer. Their customer service team is available 7 days a week, which includes weekends, of course. And it shows. Over half of their appointments come from repeat customers or referrals, which tells you a lot about their commitment to customer service. They're also big in the community. They've raised over $4 million over the years for charities like Action for Autism and St. Jude, and they're the preferred window of your St. Louis Blues. Right now, they're offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. So if you've been putting this off, now is a great time to act. Call Window World at 1-800-GET-WINDOWS.
Colombo and Company.
Just over 2 weeks to go in the 2026 legislative session, and we'll go live to Jeff City Wednesday for the latest from Missouri political insider Rodney Boyd. Plus, we'll open Close's cabinet.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
This is Steve Rupp, president of Missouri Right to Life. Join us for the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again banquet with keynote speaker Riley Gaines on May 20th at the St. Charles Convention Center. We're fighting to restore protection for every unborn child in Missouri. Tickets to hear Riley Gaines are just $100. Seats are filling fast, so reserve yours now. Go to MissouriLife.org for details. Together, we will make Missouri pro-life again.
Tony Colombo here for All Solutions Pest Control, the team Christine and I trust to protect our home. We've used multiple services at multiple homes over the years, and I can tell you from all that experience, All Solutions is second to none. If you have a pest problem of any kind, or more importantly, just want to prevent a problem, All Solutions is the team to call. Learn more and take advantage of their incredible $67 introductory offer right now at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
When the storm hits and a tree comes down, you need someone you can trust right now. OLI Outdoor Services in Godfrey is on call 24/7 for emergency tree removal, trimming, stump grinding, and land clearing. Serving Illinois and Missouri with licensed, insured professionals and over 200 years of combined experience. Tree removal starting at just $2.99. Free estimates, plus financing. Visit OLIOutdoorServices.com or call 1-888-5-SAWING.
Live and local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Hey, Chris Arps from the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Make sure that you're listening to our show this afternoon from 4 to 6. Now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
4, maybe 5 on the Susie dance scale.
Got me moving.
Mm-hmm. Now, you know who that is?
It's not Steel Panther.
It's not.
I don't know.
It is a band called Fozzy.
Oh.
With the lead singer, professional wrestler Chris Jericho.
Oh, I've heard that name before.
Yes. He actually puts on quite a show. He did a show at the Del Mar Hall a few years ago, and I was actually at it. It was a lot of fun. Guy's a good entertainer. All right, be careful what you put on social media. That's
Always.
a good idea anyway.
That's a pretty good rule of thumb.
But especially when you're the political enemy of the president. At least that is one take on the whole James Comey situation. 314-912-1019. Let's go through it. I'll let you hear from Todd Blanche. Let you hear from James Comey. We'll give our hot takes. Tell me what you think. Justified indictment of Comey, or is this returning the lawfare, that he sent at Trump? So I want to get, because I think there's a bigger picture than just James Comey here, who I think we all agree is a complete and utter schmuck. Anybody disagree with that in the room? I don't think so. All right. Okay, so as much as it hurts me to say this show is not your only good source of news and commentary. There are others, like redstate.com.
It's true.
So, Susie, what should we check out first today?
This is the Red State Rundown.
Today, we've got an article up from Terry Christoph talking about the big win yesterday at the Virginia Supreme Court, where they basically, with a one-sentence hammer, said no to the Dems' gerrymandering scheme. What they did was they refused to lift the injunction that's refusing to certify that election about redistricting. They didn't rule on the merits yet, but the fact that they are not going to lift that injunction means the election still can't be certified, which means the Democrats still can't get their way, and that's a good thing. Terry's got a good write-up on that. You want to check that out. From Ben Smith, we've got warmth of collectivism. Mondani declares historic crisis after blowing deadline, pushes state bailout. He's already in trouble financially. They're supposed to have their budget done by maybe by Friday, and now he's asking for the middle of May. And he's saying they need more money and they need money from the state, and but he still wants to give you free everything.
But it's like old Maggie Thatcher said, problem with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money.
And this isn't even eventually. This is just 5 months in.
Yeah.
Just imagine what it's going to look like down the road. Also from Becky Noble, our own St. Louis's own Becky Noble, a VIP article titled Trump Derangement Syndrome is just the latest name for a toxin that's been around for a long time. She takes kind of a broader look at the fact that, yes, right now there's all this heat around President Trump. It's been going on for 10 years. But you can look back even further, even back to the Bush administration, and see how he was compared to Hitler. And there was a lot of hatred fomented about him. And it's more of a broader syndrome that she kind of points to there.
That's interesting. All right. 7:26 right now. Okay, so former FBI Director James Comey, now indicted for a second time, this time for his 2025 social media post on the beach. The one where he was on the beach, I guess it was in North Carolina, which I think is where they got the indictment here, where he took seashells and made them into 8647.
Oh, no. He just happened upon them.
Yeah, and they happened to say 8647. Yeah, so Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche announcing the charges against Comey from the DOJ.
He knowingly and willfully making a threat to take the life of and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States. Count 2, same day, May 15th, 2025, that the defendant, James Comey, knowingly and willfully transmitting in interstate commerce a communication that contained a threat to kill the President.
Really? Okay, so here's a quick, just get the other side here. Comey's went on his, I guess it was Substack and then social media, part of what he said.
Nothing has changed with me. I'm still innocent. I'm still not afraid. And I still believe in the independent federal judiciary. So let's go.
Okay, so there's a difference between, is this a good or bad guy, or is this guy, just another partisan hack who unfairly targeted, Trump while he was in office? Because all of those things I think are true. Mm-hmm. At the same time, knowingly threatened the life of the president with a picture from the beach seems like a stretch to me. And I'm more worried about whether or not this could be applied to anybody's political opponents. Now, again, I said at the beginning of the show, I'm open. Convince me one way or the other. Mm-hmm. What do we think?
So, a couple things. I think that there's a reasonable inference and argument to be made that was the message that was being sent. I mean, I don't think you can in an intellectually honest fashion, look at what Comey put out there and say, oh, he was just, he didn't have any like ill intent there. The question is going to be whether or not you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he had the intent to threaten the life of the president. And the words that you heard Blanche saying there, he's reading specifically, basically from the requirements of the statute. That's why it maybe sounded a little awkward. But those are the requirements that the DOJ has to meet and prove to a jury in order to hold him responsible criminally. And I think that's a big uphill climb. I think there's a very strong First Amendment defense here.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean there shouldn't be any action taken on it. And particularly in this environment. I mean, we just saw another attempt on the president's life. We see people right and left being like, oh, sorry they missed. Darn. And when you have a public figure like James Comey, the former FBI director, making a statement like that, it holds some weight. So I don't think it's completely frivolous to bring the action. Do I think it's ultimately going to result in him going to prison? Probably not. I do think part of this is the process, is the punishment. And since things got screwed up with the first indictment, which was, I think, legit. I mean, he did lie to Congress. And that got sideways because of the appointment situation. And that was, kind of like a technicality that they couldn't get around. This is designed as a brushback pitch. A process is the punishment back. So you asked whether, I'm trying to think how you put it. It was like, is there a basis for is there a basis for this, or is this, political retribution?
Right.
I think it's both.
That seems fair. PMS 3105 on Rumble says, I hate to say it, but this is a nothing burger and a waste of time and money. But if it hurts Comey's financial portfolio, then okay. And that would go to the process as the punishment aspect of this.
Well, and again, so from where I'm from, and this is actually recognized in police guides for criminal codes and stuff, 86 means literally murder. It means you're going to kill somebody.
It does now.
Well, but it's been that way for decades. This is not a new thing that just arose in 2010 and suddenly is being used. This goes back to like mafia, like when the organized criminal syndicates were still in charge, right?
Yeah, because the first time I heard it, I was working in restaurants, and it meant take something off the menu.
And I had not heard that, so that's why I looked into the history of the term, and it did actually start in the restaurant setting and then got adopted by the criminal, and now it's still a popular thing. So I think that, one, I don't buy that he didn't know what 86 meant. Oh, I just thought the waves put this formation. That's what a cool way that they landed, right? I don't think that's the case, and I don't think he didn't know what it meant. I do think it was him trying to be sly, knowing that there's a double meaning to it, just to kind of get toe the line. But also at the same time, the fact that somebody like me, not me personally, but somebody that like me, that would understand one half of the meaning and might have Trump derangement syndrome, might take that as this is a government official saying this is okay. Let me, be the one kind of thing. I'll be a hero. Like that is something you need to be conscious of when you're posting stuff online.
So if he says, I meant impeach, I meant vote him out, I meant 25th Amendment, or if he says something like that, does that go along with a reasonable interpretation of 86 in a political sense?
It could. I mean, he's going to make that.
Saying that's what he was doing.
No, but he'll make that argument at trial if it gets to trial. Yeah. And I mean, a jury's going to be hard pressed to say that they can, definitively say beyond a reasonable doubt that that isn't what he meant. But him playing the little innocent babe act about it is baloney.
You get button, dump button. She almost did it.
You watch your links.
I did. I stopped myself.
Well, and then, okay, if you have enough shells to write out 86, you've got enough shells to write out 15. If you're referencing, you said the amendment, which amendment?
25.
25. So he could have written 2547 if he wanted to really push that message out. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I personally, as awful of a person as he is, I have trouble believing I'm going to send a message saying I'm going to kill the president of the United States.
I don't think he was saying I'm going to do it. I don't think he was saying that at all. I think he was basically saying this is what I'm down with.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he himself arranged the shells or if he saw that image somewhere and thought it was very clever and decided he was going to share it. But either way, he shouldn't have done it.
And the bigger picture is, and this is what really worries me, because I'm not worried about James Comey's outcome, because like you said, I think you're 100% right, Susie. Process is the punishment. This is partially just retribution for what he did to Trump. But at this point, are we going to set ourselves up to say, oh, you posted that, we're going to send the cops after you? Because we see that in the UK. We've seen it in Australia. We've seen it in New Zealand. We've seen it in other places around the world, Canada. We have seen police and indictments and prosecutions and imprisonment for social media posts that push back against whoever is in power. I don't want to go down that route.
I agree.
Even though we're talking about a schmuck like James Comey.
I think it's a fair question.
Yeah.
Very fair question. But you know what? Socialists say the darndest things, don't they? Why would elected officials call for a day of activism designed to hurt businesses, all businesses in their community? That's what's happening in the city right now, and we'll fill you in on the details at 7:35.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Always be yourself, unless you suck.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. Tracking partly sunny skies with highs towards the mid-60s into Thursday, 67. Looking dry until the evening hours. A few scattered chances of some showers. Friday, partly sunny, 62 degrees. Looking cooler through Saturday, 63 before we rise on Sunday. Highs towards the mid to upper 70s. Mostly sunny skies. Isolated chances of showers as we look off into portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch.
What if your child's education went beyond test scores, fostering a life of cheerful virtue and the pursuit of excellence as a gift returned to God? At the St. Austin School, Catholic and classical education come together. No tablets or laptops in the classroom. A 12-to-1 student-teacher ratio. Our students successfully compete and lead at their choice of top high schools in St. Louis. Learn more at staustinschool.org. That's staustinschool.org.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit vincentsjewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
During the shooting at the Correspondents' Dinner, one reporter hiding under a table said, "I hope they kill the MFer." She was talking about Trump. Tennessee Congressman Ogles tells that story and says a woman was hoping when she quit hiding, she would stand up and see Trump dead. He did not name the reporter nor her company. You can claim the Republican just made up the story, but there are things you cannot deny. The far left has been attacking Trump verbally and literally for 11 years, 3 documented assassination attempts. Granted, this shooter didn't even get in the room, but his 1,000-word manifesto made it clear what he wanted to do. Illinois Governor Pritzker says, "Everything I've said about Trump trying to destroy our democracy has proven true." He was on CNN. No one asked, "Where's your proof?" CNN's latest documentary is being rescheduled, titled Imperial Presidency. And then how do you explain the offer of the left-wing radical who owns a brewery in Wisconsin? He is promising free beer all day long on the day Trump dies. Kill the president, get free beer.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribune, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination, both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-478-6430 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-478-6430. That's 800-478-6430. What do you have to lose? Call 800-478-6430. Again, 800-478-6430.
Number one for live and local conservative talk.
I just would like to get your comments on that. I'm so glad that you're on the radio, and I want to thank you for that.
I'll tell you why.
1019 and 94.1.
I love these people.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Good morning, St. Louis. Hey, it's Vince from The Vince Show right here on News Talk STL every weeknight at 8. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Kevin mentioning this in the news dump. Politicians are demanding that businesses in their community get hurt and that kids not be educated, at least for a day. Those are politicians who do not prioritize their community.
Wait, what's really different about that one day from any day?
That's a fair thing. The only, because if you're talking about St. Louis City public schools, they're not getting educated any days. However, in theory, they would be demanding that SLU High kids not go, that charter school kids not go, that as part of the parents keep them out for that. So what's happening here is that you've got socialist politicians, and I'm not using that as pejorative, I'm using that as an adjective. Politicians who are prioritizing their ideology and radical activism over the community they're elected to defend and support and advocate for and represent.
Go figure.
Yeah, imagine that. So here's what's going on. At least 5 members of the St. Louis Board of Aldermen, including Board President Megan Green, they are joining in the call for the so-called general strike on May 1st, so Friday. And they want everybody to not do any business with anybody. They want kids to refuse to go to school. They want everybody to shut everything down. Now, they're having a rally later on that afternoon in the city, but they're targeting some of the organizations like unions and all the others that are part of this, the Party for Socialism and Liberation and all of these radical left-wing groups. They're targeting local businesses. Like they're targeting like Caldi's Coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I know the family that owns Caldi's Coffee. I've known them for 20 years. These are good people who've actually invested in the city of St. Louis. Mm-hmm. But they're getting targeted by them. Target, the chain, enterprise. They're all being targeted for various reasons. So you've got Orange Man bad, ICE and Customs and Border Patrol are Nazis, and then Rasheen Aldridge, alderman. In addition to all that, he says it's also about protesting local stuff. And here's what he put on social media.
My name is Rasheen Aldridge, alderman of the 14th Ward. Our city's at a critical time right now with the recent May 16th tornado and a police department that's trying to take over our budget. We can't be silent. We must stand up. That's why I'm calling on you and my colleagues to go out on strike on May 1st. No work, no school, no shopping. Join us May 1st at Aloe Plaza at 5:30 to make sure your voice is heard.
Yeah, so if Rasheen, and I've met him a few times, I've been on radio shows with him and that sort of thing, I've debated him. If he actually understood any sort of economics or governance, he would know he's hurting his own community by doing this.
Well, he left something off his list.
What did he?
No sense.
Definitely.
Just saying.
Yeah, and when you look at the kind of the intersectional umbrella that's putting all this together, because this is part of a national thing.
It's part of a decade and a half long temper tantrum, and I'm really kind of tired of it.
Yeah, and it is, we're going to inflict maximum pain even on ourselves in order to be devoted to our ideology. So St. Louis City Republican Party Chairman Kirk Hilsinger sent me this statement in response to it.
Hello, this is Kirk Hilsinger, Chairman for the Republican Party City of St. Louis. We see that May 1st is coming upon us, and while the rest of us are enjoying spring, as usual, the far-left socialist wing of the Democrat Party looks for a way not to be productive. Shame on Megan Green, Daniela Valquez, Alicia Sunnier, Laura Keyes, and Rasheen Aldridge for being in support of the strike organized by 5051. I guess they have not learned the lesson when Seattle's mayor struck with Starbucks employees, and now Starbucks is moving to Nashville.
See, and was it Allison, I think, just said, yeah, the businesses may decide to move their businesses. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's hard enough to run a business in St. Louis as it is because of the political climate, and now you say, the most powerful people in city government are willing to go to the entire community and say, don't do business with you until you support our socialist causes, but punish everybody on this particular day.
That sounds like a racket.
It sounds like a shakedown.
It does.
Yeah. But that's one of the reasons, really the main reason, that the city of St. Louis is in the condition that it's in, is because the voters keep electing people like this.
Yep.
And it's not going to get any better until you start changing who you're going to elect. And I don't see them changing who they're going to elect. So city of St. Louis, you've done this to yourself. This is all those boarded up buildings. The fact that you're losing about, according to the International Institute, 100 people a day on average leaving the city. You're now smaller in population than the city of Wichita, Kansas, in the actual city limits. Look it up. That's true. That you've got crime that's rampant, that you've got businesses leaving in droves, including this one. We left the city.
Yep.
Many of the media, big media, has left the city. Channel 4, the Business Journal. I mean, look at all the others that are leaving. And it's because you elect these radical socialists and then wonder why commerce and free markets and enterprise doesn't happen, which provides the job, which attracts families, which brings other businesses.
And again, this is why we can't have nice things. Yeah. I mean, good. Exercise your right to stand up and be heard. You go right ahead. I don't know what realistically they think that's going to accomplish, other than to get their face time on social media and TV.
And they're going to do that. But I also wonder, this is a weekday, because their last several tantrums have been done on weekends, because these are the same groups that do the no kings thing, and they don't want any kings unless it's, king from another country. They're fine with that, which we'll get to in a little bit. But now you've got a weekday. You've got a work day where normal people are going to be going to and from work. Now, since you've got that happening, do we now kind of be a little concerned about, are we going to see blockades of traffics and highways and things like that? I haven't seen any indication of it, but when they've done protest during work weeks, when productive people actually who have jobs go to and from them, now you've got a different element out there.
Yeah. I mean, we could. I'm hoping not, but who knows? What I'm also hoping for is that you'll remember that today is Bump Day, which means that's your reminder to get your requests into Jerome for our Flashback Friday song. They've got to be 80s songs. That means they were on the Billboard charts sometime in the 80s.
Or at least released in the 80s, even if they didn't chart.
Correct.
I did fight for some of you guys that are like, well, this 1979 song was good. We had an agreement. We have a truce. If it was from... as long as it was on the charts or released in the 80s.
Yes. Then you've got your request. You know where to send them. Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com. We want to hear them from you because we want to have a fun Flashback Friday.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Democrat policies don't work, and they destroy every community that they are in charge of.
On News Talk STL.
Susie here to talk to you about the place that's been bringing you great fun and great food from the heart of West County for over 20 years. Harpo's Chesterfield is the perfect neighborhood bar. It's close, it's convenient, and it has that great sports bar atmosphere we've come to know and love. Harpo's doesn't just serve up tasty ice-cold beverages, though they definitely do that. They've got great food. I'm telling you right now, their burgers are the best around, and I'm really craving one right now. I may have ordered one a time or two or 20. You never know. Add to that their daily food and drink specials and a friendly, energetic staff, and you've got a place in Harpo's that delivers fun food and drinks like no one else. For instance, today's Wednesday, so you know what their food special is? A 10-ounce strip steak served with your choice of 2 sides for $15. That is a great deal. And, if you're thinking Friday, I'm going to celebrate May Day by going out and patronizing businesses and spending my money and having some fun. They've got beer battered cod served with chips for just $11. Don't forget about their fun parties. They've got their events up on their Facebook page and their Instagram, so you can always check them out there. Whether you're dining in or carrying out, make Harpo's Chesterfield your go-to, or call 636-537-1970 or visit harposstl.com.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri, a full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at PacificVets.com, PacificVets.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Very active, very fun chat box. Cinderfer. Hi, Cinderfer. Hey, how you doing? She says, yo, Vic, baby. Verbatim, yo, Vic, baby. With an exclamation point. How else are you supposed to read that? I was driving, had to pull over to comment. I was going to say how sexy the beard is, but I'm afraid of your wife.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I would be.
Vic Porcelli, live and local, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. Hope you had enough time to freshen up your coffee, because now we're back with Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, James Comey's hot take on a beach results in criminal charges after the DOJ investigates his seashells for over a year now. Yeah, we'll get the basic information on that. Keep those comments coming on that, by the way, because it's interesting when you dig into it that there really are a lot more takes than just, is this silly or not, basically. Also, King Chuck is in the U.S. to see what we've done with the place, and also, yeah.
He was very complimentary.
He was.
And, I don't know how many times I've actually heard him speak before. He has a much more powerful, forceful voice than I expected him to have. It was like, he had the, you love the British accent. Can't get away from that. But he has like a more like, I was expecting him to sound kind of readier and weaker.
Yeah, well, we've made him into kind of a cartoon caricature here in the country.
And I thought he did a very nice job yesterday with his speech to Congress and the speeches that he delivered at the White House.
He's also trying to mend some fences.
Yeah, but I think he's doing a good job of that.
He and Trump kind of had he really kind of had a tiff with Trump. I don't think Trump cared about it one way or the other when he was.
I think now that they've decided they're cousins, they're like on best. They're like best buds. I mean, I think they seem to get on very well.
They look that way. Mm-hmm. Did you see the pictures of the president and Melania Trump and King Charles and Camilla when they did? It was funny because the Trumps are like easily 5 or 6 inches taller than the royal couple.
Yes.
I mean, I'm like, there was like
There's a little height disparity.
There was a big
I saw them out with the bees. That was cute.
Yeah,
I liked
exactly. Also, Cardinals get they even up the series with the Pirates up in Pittsburgh. All right, 7:51 here. Let's go ahead and go over a few news stories and do a news dump.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
All right, I want to go into this in more depth. Let's say about 8:20 or so here. It didn't take long. Six Flags is bringing back the chaperone policy starting this weekend. Obviously, a result of all of those fights that involved about 100 juveniles.
Nip it in the bud.
Yep, that caused the park to close early on the first day of the season last weekend. So starting Saturday, anybody 16 years old or younger is going to have to be accompanied by a chaperone who's at least 21, and there are rules on the chaperone. They got to show an ID. They got to be reachable by phone. They cannot leave the park while the minors are there. And there's a limit to how many people can be listed as a chaperone, or for how many people a chaperone can have under their connection with them.
I like it. I know it seems kind of wild or extreme, but I think they need to do it and do it now and just set the tone for the rest of the season so you do not have a repeat of last weekend.
Yeah, I don't think they had a choice. I don't think that Six Flags is reveling in this news coverage that they're getting because Six Flags got a reputation now and they have to deal with it. They don't want this kind of news, but they have to. They don't have a choice.
Right.
Yep. All right. Former FBI Director James Comey, as we were just discussing, receiving his second indictment from the Justice Department, this time for his May of 2025 social media post that he made sharing an image of seashells arranged in an 8647 pattern, 8647. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche announcing the charges against Comey from the DOJ. Let me go back. Where's my... There it is. Come on. Click, click, click. I'm clicking. There we go. All right. Here's what Todd Blanche had to say reading those charges.
He knowingly and willfully making a threat to take the life of and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States. Count 2, same day, May 15th, 2025, that the defendant, James Comey, knowingly and willfully transmitting in interstate commerce a communication that contained a threat to kill the President.
Okay, here's James Comey responding on his own social media platforms.
Nothing has changed with me. I'm still innocent. I'm still not afraid. And I still believe in the independent federal judiciary. So let's go.
I cannot imagine, and I'm just a non-lawyer here, I cannot imagine any circumstance where he's actually convicted of threatening to kill the president because of his beach photo.
No, I don't hold out much hope.
Yeah.
Not hope isn't even the right word. I don't think that this is probably going to result in a conviction.
Right.
But I also don't fault them for, pursuing this because, like I was saying off the air, if he put out a seashell picture that said "kill Trump," I don't think people would have any hesitation. This is just one layer of interpretation above that. So I don't blame them for pursuing this. I don't know, even in Eastern North Carolina, if a jury is going to ultimately convict him.
Yeah, I mean, because this also is apparent. I think at least part of this, and you've said this earlier, and I think you're spot on with that, is the process is the punishment. There is some retaliation here from the Trump administration.
Yeah, there's also two aspects of that.
Yeah.
Some of it's just retaliation, but some of it is don't do this. Like send a message to everybody. Don't be pursuing this. Don't be doing this kind of thing. We can't continue on like this. So I mean, it's sort of a deterrent, I guess, as well.
If they win or get far enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, here's an update to a story that we told you about a week or so ago. St. Charles County Council approves the plan to deploy drones in emergency calls. Remember we talked about that?
Oh, yeah.
I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I think it was. The idea is that since drones can get to the fire or the medical call or the police call faster, whatever it is, that the vehicles can then feed video in real time and give first responders better information about the situation while they're on the way there. Now, the drones are going to be launched from tops of government buildings like schools and fire stations and whatever other government buildings. While the first year of the program technically is free to the county, they're also committed to 3 years after that at a cost of $900,000 per year, or $900,000 total. So in other words, it's $225,000 per year for 4 years.
Correct.
You just don't have to start making payments until the second year on that.
It's like on layaway.
Basically as well. So, and again, the argument makes perfect sense if you limit the drones to just, hey, here's the car wreck. You can't use this street, go around to this street.
Yeah.
Or the fire is coming out of the top of the building. You need to go in through the garage or whatever. If you limit it to that, and we all know that government never does mission creep with things like this.
Never. If people start reporting seeing drones outside their windows, there might be a problem.
Yeah. I think so as well. Let's see here. We got a little bit of time here. Okay, so King Chuck is in the U.S. now. And, of course, he's spoke to Congress last night. I'm told as a news media personality that I'm supposed to find this really, really important and be really interested. I'm not. But, it's nice that he's here.
I think it's kind of one of those human interest type things.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something that I think some people are going to find more interesting than others, but I don't think it's mandatory that you be all over it.
Yeah. So King Charles III and Queen Camilla met with President Trump and with Melania Trump, spoke to a joint session of Congress on Tuesday on their visit to the U.S. This, of course, is marking the country's 250th birthday and also trying to mend some fences with the president as well. So delivering remarks at a White House state dinner, Charles says he looks forward to continuing Britain's special relationship with the U.S.
Let us raise our glasses and voices as we toast the past, the present, and the future, thank you, of our two proud and allied nations. To the United States and the United Kingdom, God bless both our countries.
Okay, so did basically he just do the Kofifi dance?
Yes.
Just in a more formal,
with the
snooty way?
With the pinky extended, I'm sure. That's the key part of that.
Oh, my goodness. All right. The Cardinals even up the series with the Pirates, getting an 11-7 win in Pittsburgh. Kyle Leahy went 5 1/3 innings to pick up his third win of the season. Nolan Gorman, Victor Scott II hit home runs. Game 3 of the series starts this afternoon at 5:40. Andre Palante on the mound to start this one for the Redbirds. Cards are in third place in the division. They are 3 games behind the Reds, and this is actually one of those rare 4-game series, so the series is not decided today.
Tim Jones here to introduce you to your new favorite roofing company, Kneale Roofing. There were 4 major storms last year. Did your roof take a hit? Do you even know? Most homeowner insurance policies require claims to be filed within 1 year, so time's running out for a closer look. At Kneale Roofing Company, you get a local roofing specialist who will advocate for you every step of the way. Give yourself peace of mind. Schedule your roof inspection today with Kneale Roofing at KnealeRoofingCo.com. That's KnealeRoofingCo.com.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Cap Pastrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. An update and a warning on Iran from President Trump. Writing on Truth Social, the president describes Iran as being in a state of collapse. Iran, he writes, can't get their act together. They don't know how to sign a non-nuclear deal. They better get smart soon. Federal appeals court has ruled the Trump administration cannot jail illegal immigrants without the chance to seek bond.
Since last year, the Department of Homeland Security has been denying bond hearings to immigrants arrested across the country, including those with no criminal history. In a unanimous ruling, a panel of the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New York City cited serious constitutional questions related to that policy, saying it would otherwise be the broadest mass detention without bond mandate in American history. Since 2 other appellate courts have already upheld the policy, the case could be headed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Could OPEC's days be numbered? The question follows word of the United Arab Emirates pending withdrawal from the cartel.
This is a big blow for OPEC, which was formed decades earlier as a means to control the prices of crude oil on the international market by setting production targets, and the UAE was one of those countries that really chafed under those limits. The UAE says it will be able to set its own production levels. It says it will still be a responsible player within the market, but it also comes amid tensions with Saudi Arabia. This is all coming as the whole Middle East is still reeling from the Iran war.
Correspondent John Gambrell. 2 people injured, a knife attack in a predominantly Jewish neighborhood of London. UK Prime Minister Starmer calls it deeply concerning. A 45-year-old man under arrest on suspicion of attempted murder. The Dow futures down 56 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Hey, if you're hearing my voice, chances are you're either worried about a parent living alone or you are that parent. And you know your family worries about you too. Either way, there's a company that finally got senior safety right. Connected Caregiver. Connected Caregiver is everything you knew about alert devices, fall detection, emergency button, GPS, reimagined for today. There's a small wearable that alerts your family's phone the moment something happens. Inside your home, discrete sensors, no cameras, no microphones, just motion sensors have you covered even when you're not wearing it. No movement for hours, your loved ones will know. For the kids, you go from hoping everything's okay to knowing it is. And for you, you stay in your home on your terms while giving your precious family the peace of mind they've been asking for. That's not losing independence, that's keeping it. Visit ccgoffer.com to see if you qualify for a free device. It takes 2 minutes. That's ccgoffer.com, ccgoffer.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast, tracking partly sunny skies with highs towards the mid-60s into Thursday, 67, looking dry until the evening hours, a few scattered chances of some showers. Friday, partly sunny, 62 degrees, looking cooler through Saturday, 63 before we rise. On Sunday, highs towards the mid to upper 70s, mostly sunny skies, isolated chances of showers as we look off into portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Craving a real slice of Chicago right here in Wentzville? Alfano's Pizza is the only spot in town serving legendary Chicago-style stuffed deep dish, thick crust, gooey mozzarella, and signature sauce made fresh every morning. Prefer New York hand-tossed or St. Louis cracker crust? They've got that too. Plus, legendary sandwiches, spicy Italian beef, Cuban, and Philly cheesesteak. Curbside pickup or fast delivery. Alfano's Pizza, real fresh, right in your neighborhood. Order at alfanospizza.wentzvillemo.com.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serving St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
Mike Ferguson.
Big guy, one of the biggest in the world.
Susie Moore.
Do you think he's ready?
He's not ready.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
I have a feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
This is your cousin.
All right, ultimately, the gunman is the one responsible for his actions. Talking about this attempt on the president's life, the most recent attempt here. Now, that doesn't mean that we should ignore the factors that contributed to the deranged actions. And of course, now you've got the Comey indictment and all these different elements of it. But when you say that the gunman is the one responsible for his actions, those who commit political violence, they're the ones responsible for their actions. Let's not use that as an excuse to not talk about the other factors, the aggravating factors, if you will. Our friend Dennis Kneale joins us right now. Of course, he's got a new book out. We'll tell you about that. But you've seen him on CNBC and Fox Business and everywhere else. And he's got his podcast. And Dennis, appreciate you being on the program here. So we talk about the uptick in political violence. Obviously, you know, this Cole Allen character going to have the book thrown at him, as he should, in prison. You know, now we've got the bigger question is he's the one responsible for what he did, thought it out, premeditated it, but he is just another spoke in this emerging political violence movement. And political violence isn't new to the country. We've had it on and off for decades here. But what are we seeing right now that we really need to be paying attention to if we're serious about stopping this and having battles of ideas instead of battles of bullets?
Well, hello, Mike Ferguson. It's great to talk this morning. It's 6 in the morning on my time because I'm here in Oregon, in Portland, promoting my new book, Oregoners, which, by the way, last night showed up on the #1 Amazon bestseller list in a couple of categories. Sorry, I had to get in that plug, sir. Now, I've been really struggling with this because I like to view myself, because I was a journalist for more than 30 years, as a First Amendment absolutist. You should be able to say almost anything without government ever coming in there with a prior restraint to stop you. And if government starts punishing afterward lots and lots of speech, that will effectively amount to a prior restraint. And I do kind of agree at first with this idea of blame the shooter. And we see where you could go too far because of this new indictment of James Comey for posting a photo of seashells arranged for 8647, as in maybe supposedly kill the 47th president. Now, they've gotten an indictment against Comey for this. It just came out in the past 24 hours, right? Well, wait a minute, guys. I'm sure that James Comey did a whole lot of really wrong stuff. He was part of the Russiagate hoax. He was part of trying to depose a duly elected president. And this is the best you got to indict this guy because he put up a seashell picture? Because that's threatening the president. I think that's a little flimsy. At the same time, though, Mike, isn't it also true that for more than 10 years, Democrats have been demonizing the man rather than his policies? You know, Trump has done so much in the first 13 months of his term. And all you guys got is that he's a racist, sexist, xenophobic, pedophile, rapist, blah, blah, blah. Really? Can't you talk about his policies? And, Mike, here's the problem. Well, gee, what do you Democrats want to say about his idea of capping credit card interest rates at 10%? You can get behind that and pass it in Congress, but you haven't. Well, gee, Democrats, what you have to say about letting service workers keep their tips and not have to pay tax on it? They haven't talked about that. They only talked about Trump bad, Trump bad. It's tiresome, and it's bad strategy. It's bad for the country. It's just that millions of people heard this terrible Democrat rhetoric and didn't go shooting anybody. So how can we say that that rhetoric is then responsible for some crazy who does it? I say that guy was 31 years old and living with his mommy and daddy. Blame the parents. Blame family. Blame friends. Did you guys not hear this craziness? Wasn't there a recent ruling in a court case where the parents of a mass shooter kid were held liable for the kid's actions? Maybe there's something like that should be done here.
Yeah, that was I want to say that was in Georgia a couple years ago, Dennis, where basically the parents let the kid run wild and the dad gave him the gun and then he takes it to school.
Right. And so there's liability there, and they're much more directly involved. But to sit there and say, to blame the rhetoric, it's one out of millions who did it. And I don't want a society where suddenly we're penalizing speech. The way they're doing in the UK, okay? I mean, what an extraordinary thing. Did you see that on X? That King Charles comes to make a speech to Congress, and all the Democrats give the king a standing O. Yeah. The same people who want to do no king's protests. I think it's hilarious, and I think the Trump administration worked it that way on purpose. They're that shrewd.
And the president did troll him. He wasn't trolling the king. He was trolling the Democrats for that, too. He did put in a little snarky. I would have been disappointed if he didn't do a little trolling on that. That was, that was good. Now, we're visiting with Dennis Kneale. Of course, you see him on Newsmax and everywhere. We'll talk about the book here in a second. But also, what do we do about it? This is the question here. I mean, there's no question that we're in an environment where one side right now actually looks at political violence. And when you look at the polling, it's a stunning percentage of people on the far left who think that political violence, even murder, is a legitimate tactic. I mean, this is how deranged a lot of this has led to. So what do we do about it while protecting free speech? Because your critique of the indictment over the Instagram post, I completely agree with that one. But I know there's a lot of good faith disagreement because one of the arguments that was made on the show a little bit ago was saying it's sending a message telling everybody to dial it down. But sometimes government saying dial it down can equate to censorship. So have we crossed the Rubicon, Dennis, or can we dial this down to where we can just beat the left with their ideas and we don't have to worry about violence?
I think the only way this changes on the Democrat side, because they're worse about doing this than Republicans are, I think Republicans are amateurs when it comes to mean politics by comparison with the Democrats. But the only way this is going to start to work is when Democrat voters start to reject their candidates and start to punish them at the start to punish them at the ballot box and say we don't like all this violence and all this hate and this lack of policy criticism. I don't know if that's going to happen, and it is shocking when that large of a percentage of liberals say yes, political violence is sometimes necessary. You know what? Screw all you guys. We live in a fantastic, free country. We are not one of those nations where, oh my gosh, maybe violence is needed to overthrow a terrible, evil regime. I think that observation is pretty true in Iran. I'm glad those 50 guys are dead. Okay? And violence in Iran to overturn a despotic, terrorist-sponsoring government, I can understand that. But when Americans answer yes to that, shame on Democrat leadership, shame on the Democrat Party, and shame on the Democrat-dominated lapdog media, because they aren't calling it out. They aren't saying, how dare you? You guys are responsible for the nation's swing on this. They won't do it because Trump broke them, because if they do it, it might make Trump look good. And nobody wants to make Trump look good.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, Dennis, the response, and I'm going to paraphrase here from, some of the top Democrats is, you know what, of course we stand against political violence. It has no place in our society. Now, let's talk about Hitler again.
Right, let's talk, right, because doesn't Hitler deserve to die no matter what? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they keep saying, it turns out there's a trick, I think, and I think they know they're playing it. And it turns out that the unconscious mind, I learned in some training I took a couple years ago, the unconscious mind is unable to understand, comprehend what no, what not means. So that when you see a big billboard as you're driving that says, don't drive drunk, what the mind reads is drive drunk. Instead, you should say, drive sober. When Richard Nixon said, I am not a crook, he should have said, I am an innocent man. Because the mind can't contemplate not a crook. This is what I learned. Well, the Democrats are saying now, you shouldn't kill President Trump now, okay? We should not have violence. What the mind of their listeners hears is we should have violence. And I wonder if they're doing that on purpose. But the reason they're doing that is because they got no game. The Democrats are losing. I'm losing liberal friends now. I have a friend of 50 years. We had a major rift in our friendship recently because of my political views. Never mind that I think his liberal Democrat views are incredibly stupid, naive, vegan college freshman. I don't hold that against him, but he does hold it against me. And you know why he does, my liberal friend does? It's because he's losing. He's embarrassed. He's seeing news. I'm thinking this. I'm making this up. I don't know that he really feels this, but he does now as far as I'm concerned. He feels embarrassed at the antics and shenanigans and terrible misdeeds being revealed almost daily about Democrats. My gosh, it's stunning. And I think my liberal friends are really kind of humiliated by their own party's behavior.
And last minute or so we're visiting with Dennis Kneale, and we'll give you the website and the contact information here in just a second. The new book you just mentioned, going to the top of the Amazon charts. Congratulations on that. Oregoners. So what will St. Louisans get, or Illinoisans or Missourians get from a book about what you're seeing in Oregon right now?
So here's the thing, New York, California, if you do a book on how messed up they are, New York City's so big, so diverse, that nothing's going to destroy it overnight, and nothing's going to show up in sharp relief. Oregon is only 4.2 million people. The Portland area, media market, 65% of the state. Portland area, all of 2 million. It's a rural-urban split. It is a canary in the coal mine for blue state blues everywhere. You can see what's going to happen to your state and city if you keep up with it, because Oregon, it's happening now. You've got thousands of businesses and taxpayers and jobs fleeing the state. You've got spending, more than the national average on students, almost $20,000 per student, yet your fourth graders are at 48th in the nation in reading and math. You've got a $700 million unspent surplus in a Portland climate change fund that has become a handout fund for Democrat supporters. Ooh, let's give grants to 40 black business owners so they can buy electric cars, meaning Teslas, and that'll help reduce climate change. You've got ridiculous things going on a daily basis. 4 members of a 12-member council who are literally Democrat Socialists of America. New York City elected Kami Mamdani, and Portland a few months before that had said, basically hold my beer. We'll elect 4 socialists and 2 allies. They are crazy. It's out of control. And the weird thing, is nobody holds the Democrats accountable for this. No one looks at it. One last thing, employment in government here is up. Spending by government has far more than doubled in a decade, state, county, city. And yet their employment in government is up only 8%, 15%. How does that happen? Because they're taking all that extra money and they're handing it out through NGOs. The homeless industrial complex, there's a whole chapter on it, is $727 million a year on only 18,000 people in the Portland metro area. That's $40,000 a person. All of it laundered through NGOs. And yet the homeless ranks rose 64% in 2 years, despite all that spending.
Well, that just means we need spend more money on them, right, Dennis?
There you go. And that always is the answer. And they keep slapping on tax after tax. Then now look what they're doing with the billionaire tax in California and the Democrats want. Just it's not a billionaire tax, guys. It's a tax on the rest of us. That's what every tax turns into. Let's remember the income tax originally applied only to income over $12 million in today's dollars when it was passed in 1913. And today, the income tax applies to everyone. And that's what's going to happen to this billionaire tax that assesses not what you earned last year, but what you're worth, your entire worth. And they even have a form requiring little taxpayers to fill out what their assets are. It's a terrible, terrible move, and the Democrats should be embarrassed. Where is shame and embarrassment in the Democrat Party? I was a lifelong Democrat, Mike. I only switched to Republican in January after I left Commie Mamdani in Brooklyn, where I was for more than 40 years, and moved down to beautiful South Florida. I thought I'd miss New York a lot, but the Democrats and Commie Mamdani are making me miss it less and less every day, my friend.
All right, so you've traded the rats for iguanas there in South Florida. Dennis, if people want to get in touch with you, they want to check out the book, contact you, social media, what's the best way to do it?
At Dennis Kneale on X, the freest, most important media platform, social media platform in the world, even though they've banned me a couple times and shut my account. Find me there. Or, guys, email me at dennis.kneale@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. And please buy my book on Amazon, Oregoners, How One State Chased Away Business and People. And if you hate it, still put up a good review saying you like it, because Democrats could learn a hell of a lot from this, and they need the lesson.
Thanks, Dennis. Appreciate it, man.
Have a great morning. Thanks so much for your time.
All right, so we are trying to go the opposite direction in Missouri with the elimination of the state income tax. Tomorrow, we are having the Road to Zero town hall event. State Senator Nick Schroer is going to be there. Ben Keithley is going to be there. I'm going to be there. Susie's going to be there. Maybe Jerome's going to be there. We'll see. Americans for Prosperity, Mo Tax Relief Now. Listen, this is happening tomorrow. This is an important conversation, not a campaign rally. Regardless of how you feel about that proposal that we're going to vote on, come get the information. More details, including the RSVP link, is at NewsTalkSTL.com. You know what goes with a good cup of coffee, or two or three? I need to ask Dennis Kneale where he got his coffee. He was fired up, man. We're getting comments like, we love it. Okay, but I'm going to tell him, he said, you want to get that good cup of coffee, you need a good donut to go with that. And to do that, you go to Mario's Donuts right there on Mugi Road. Mario's Donut Restaurant.com. Mike Ferguson here for Mario's. You know why? Because I loves me some Mario's Donuts. We have them here at the station about once a week or so. And even though I try to eat really healthy, you can have a treat every now and again. If you're going to do it right with Mario's Donut. But they don't just do donuts. Go hang out there. They've got a great little coffee shop environment, good vibe there. Get a good cup of coffee, but they've also got other breakfast products. Yes, you can find healthy food there too. You can get your omelet, you can get your wrap, you can get your lunch there, you can get your gyro there, you can get your tiramisu there. They will even cater your office party or that birthday party, whatever you need, from breakfast and coffee to donuts all the way to dinner. They've got you covered. Mario's Donut Restaurant.com, or just put it in your maps there. Just say Mario's Donuts, and it'll take you right there on Mugi Road. The road construction that shut them down for a while, it's back open, so you can go back and get your Mario's Donuts again, finally. Mario's Donut Restaurant.com. Tell them that Mike was salivating over those donuts once again, and you got to check out why I'm so excited about it. Mario's Donut Restaurant.com.
Looking for unbelievable deals? Stop by Overstock Outlet in Lake St. Louis or Warrenton. Open 7 days a week. Discover big savings on a huge variety of merchandise with no hassle. Just great prices. Visit us in Lake St. Louis on Highway N or in Warrenton on Boones Lake. Check out our Facebook page at Overstock Outlet Lake St. Louis. Or go online to OverstockOutletSTL.com. Unbeatable value, friendly service, and you never know what we'll have at Overstock Outlet.
Hi, I'm Rodney Wallner.
And I'm Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
When you count on Connor, you're getting the timeless American values that have guided our company from day one. Hard work, impeccable service, and honesty. At Connor Roofing, you aren't just getting a roof, you're getting safeguarded by a neighbor who cares. When you count on Connor, you're receiving protection for your home, your family, and your peace of mind.
Visit ConnorRoofing.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
Let's get back to all this madcap mayhem with Mike Ferguson in the morning. But don't forget, stick around for Jones and Arps every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m.
Now, my guess is that Six Flags did not want to do this, but they had to bring back the chaperone policy, and they had to do it pretty fast, which I think we all knew was coming.
Yeah.
I mean, we've just seen too many problems, the last few years, and it goes back to that, this is why we can't have nice things. The opening day last weekend, Six Flags, something like 100 kids involved in fights, and they're running crazy all over the place. So we, and I'm sure every other media in town, they're going to have to do the chaperone policy again. That chaperone policy is infantilizing, but what other choice do they have? So they announced yesterday, put up on social media, put up on their website, that the chaperone policy is back at Six Flags. So starting on Saturday. Now, what I don't know for sure is if this is just a weekend thing or if it just starts on Saturday and runs through the season. It should just start on Saturday and run through the season. Mm-hmm. And this is not going to be fair to all of those, youth groups or whatever who come in, Boy Scout troops or whatever who come in here, and they've got too many kids and not enough chaperones.
Okay, well, with the Boy Scouts, maybe they can make that a badge. Like you broke up a fight at Six Flags, now you get your badge for right?
Get your Six Flags Peacemaker badge. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so here's how it's going to work, is that the chaperone policy, effective May 2nd, requires anybody who is 16 years old or younger to have a chaperone. The chaperone has to be 21 years old or older and submit a photo ID and give your contact information. And if you can have up to 6 minors under the responsibility of the per chaperone. Mm. So, you go in and you've got 7 minors. You're saying you're bringing with me. They're like, pick the one you don't like. Pick the one you like the least. They have to leave. You can have the other 6 unless you find somebody else to be a chaperone.
Gotcha. So if you have like octuplets, one of them has to sit
right.
in the car at this
Yeah,
point.
you better bring both parents.
Okay.
For that one here. So if you're 17 through, I guess, adult, guess 17 years or older will have to have a government-issued photo ID with your date of birth on there. So it looks like they may be carding a lot of people to get into Six Flags, which is a mood kill and a buzz kill for an amusement park, which is not what they're trying to sell, which is why I think they really did not want to do this. But we all knew this was coming. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all knew that this was going to happen. And so if they find somebody who's 17, basically without either an ID, or they find somebody 16 or younger and they can't track down a chaperone, they're going to escort them out of the park. So you're going to have a higher security presence at Six Flags. So a heavier hand, which is going to dampen maybe some of the amusement that they're selling, but I don't know that they have another choice.
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on with the causes of this, and unfortunately, sometimes you do have to, put the foot down quickly and squash out whatever potential ideas people might have about causing, chaos in places like this. If you want to be able to at least give people the idea of, hey, you're going to have a fun, safe family time here, I don't think that you can do much else because, I mean, like we see with like the gentle parenting craze. You know, you put them in timeout and you try to talk them out of the tantrums, and that doesn't work because they just realize there's no consequences. I'm not saying, you know, pull the belt out right away, but if you give me 5 minutes with a wet pool noodle, I can solve some of these problems for you.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons. I mean, Six Flags, let's be honest. Can we be really candid? Because we're supposed to be cheerleaders for our region, but Six Flags has developed a reputation. When I was a kid and I was in, junior high and I was in high school in just outside Quincy in West Central Illinois, man, coming down to St. Louis and going to Six Flags, that was a big deal. Our youth group came down. I mean, I know that sometimes the school, I don't think I ever came down with the school group, but the youth group, came down to Six Flags. And that was a pretty common field trip, whether it was with a church or with a group of families or whatever the case is. And that was a big deal. I don't know that there's a lot of them still doing that now, and now you've got to worry about it because we didn't worry about, basically fights breaking out everywhere. You worried about, did somebody try to cut in line?
Yeah.
Is some kid gonna puke on the tilt-a-whirl? I mean, that's what you worried about. You didn't worry about, a street fight happening, right in front of the big clown or whatever they have now.
You didn't worry about people specifically showing up even.
Right.
With
To
the
fight
or to start chaos. And I mean, again, where I grew up at, we couldn't have carnivals because it was a great experience growing up. I loved it. We all had fun, but then a certain generation came forward and that was, they were bringing guns and knives to carnivals. So
look what happened in Fairview Heights just like a year and a half ago. They had to shut down the whole Wingfest.
And so guess what? The city itself said, okay, no more carnivals. So, and I think that's what gets me so frustrated about this. I've not been to Six Flags quite a while. I kind of grew out of the amusement park phase of my life, but at the same time, family-oriented entertainment venues are very critical for the bonding experience. Yes. It creates so many great memories. It gives you a sense of excitement and wonder. It gives you something to look back on fondly about your city. If nothing else, at the very least, I can look back at when I did go to Six Flags and say, wow, at least we had that, right?
Yeah.
And then now people are going to be deprived of that because their knowledge is, I wanted to go see Bugs Bunny, and instead I had to deal with 5 kids fighting right next to me, and they knocked my drink out of my hand.
Yeah, and maybe this is just the stage of life I'm in now going into my mid-50s, is that I remember going to Six Flags, my folks taking me, the church youth group. Well, now my son has a family, and they're coming to visit in June. They don't live here in the St. Louis area, and I would have loved to say, here's where your grandparents took me. I'm not taking them to Six Flags. I can tell you when they're here for 3 or 4 days, I'm not taking them to Six Flags, because of crap like this. And I'm glad they have the chaperone policy. If it works, then maybe next year, or the year after that or whenever, but I'm not doing it this year. It's just, I'm not going to risk spending that much money and to deal with that kind of crap. Because on that opening day of Six Flags, there were people who spent a lot of money on those tickets and they didn't get a prorated refund because they had to close the park down early because of miscreants running amok everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, even sometimes travel, you get halfway there, you realize it's shut down because of knuckleheads.
Yeah.
It's not fun. But you know what is fun, and hopefully is a little bit nostalgic in a good way for many people, is Flashback Fridays. And today is Bump Day! And that's the day where we call on you to send us your favorite 80s songs. We've made a bit of an extension on the years. If it was on the charts, but not released in the 80s, but it was on the charts, we'll consider it. But we still would prefer the ones that were released, the quintessential 80s-ness that just comes with the song that was recorded in the 80s. So send me your song request to Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast, tracking partly sunny skies with highs towards the mid-60s into Thursday, 67, looking dry until the evening hours, a few scattered chances of some showers. Friday, partly sunny, 62 degrees, looking cooler through Saturday, 63 before we rise on Sunday, highs towards the mid to upper 70s, mostly sunny skies, isolated chances of showers as we look off at some portions of next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
Fox News Commentary with Will Kane, next.
When I started skiing, I didn't think about setting any records. When I won my first race, I didn't think about how many more I might win. So when I made it to the top of the world, it never crossed my mind to stop. being the best isn't the same as being your best. There are no shortcuts to the top, so find the people who help get you there. I'm Michaela Schifrin, and that's what Team Stiefel means to me. If you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stiefel, where success meets success.
Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Here's Will Kane.
We have crossed the Rubicon. It is no longer the fear that assassins' words will be amplified. It is now the fear that assassins amplify the words of politicians. And it is on the left. We cannot play a game, no matter what instinct of kumbaya, of both sidesism, of a general climate of heated political rhetoric, because it is one side that is killing their opponents. It is one side who is trying to kill President Donald Trump, who did kill Charlie Kirk, who celebrates the murder of Luigi Mangione. It is one side that has normalized political violence, and that is reflected in every Gallup, Pew, Fox, CNN poll. Increasing tolerance of political violence on the left.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Remember when food tasted like home? When breakfast was made from scratch and dessert was worth saving room for? At Shorty's Diner, we're serving up down-home breakfasts, lunches, and desserts just like Mom used to make. Fresh, from scratch, every single day. Step back in time with us, where the booths are cozy, Elvis is always in the building, and every plate feels like a hug. On Lackland and Westport, or online at shortysdiners.com. Shorty's Diner. It's not fancy. It's not fat-free. It's just the way it used to be.
Hey guys, don't miss Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. where we talk about so many areas, including AI, law, and health. We have some fantastic guests on my show. Don't forget, Sunday evenings at 8 p.m., Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser.
Stand and Fight with Nick Schroer.
Hey, it's Nick Schroer. To preserve this nation, to preserve the experiment in liberty that our founders envisioned, we must take a stand and fight.
Stand and Fight with Nick Schroer. Sunday nights at 6.
Only on News Talk STL.
Democracy is loud, and on Tuesday, June 2nd, you can be right in the middle of it. News Talk STL is bringing the St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate to Lindenwood University in St. Charles at the J. Scheidegger Center for the Arts. No reservations, no tickets, just show up. Can't make it in person? Catch every word live on News Talk STL from 7 to 8:30 p.m. The St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate on June 2nd. Brought to you by the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee, Mid-Rivers News Magazine, Lewis & Clark's Pachyderms Club, and the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just the convenience on the phone. Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me for the Right Mind Show on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this wacky radio station. You know, and speaking of wacky, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
There's a movie coming out. Spielberg's got a new movie coming out on June 12th. It's called Disclosure Day.
Ooh.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
Now, Spielberg actually has told one of those Hollywood papers that it's more truth than fiction, and it has to do with UFOs, extraterrestrial life. I haven't even seen the trailer or anything, but there's a little bit of buzz around this. So is truth stranger than fiction sometimes?
You would be surprised.
Okay, so let's talk about that. We are now joined by Ken Heckenlively, and he's been on the show before. Ken, good to have you back on the program. So let's talk about your new book here. And I'm just reading from kind of the synopsis that was sent to me. You're opening the book with the premise or the thesis, Hollywood has been part of the UFO cover-up since the 40s. Now, Hollywood has put out some fantastic UFO and alien and extraterrestrial movies that are so entertaining. What would Hollywood's role be in this? Because I have a feeling that's going to be a take that a lot of people haven't even considered.
Well, thanks a lot for having me. So, what's really interesting is Spielberg and I started our interest in this from the very same place. Spielberg has talked about how the 2023 congressional hearings really lit a fire under him, and he sought to understand what was going on in this issue. So I'm really excited to see it because I think that Spielberg is really just a very is a great filmmaker, but he's also a pretty honest one. And so I'm curious to see where he goes with it. And, you mentioned his comment that he has said that his movie is way closer to truth than fiction. And that really intrigues me, because if Spielberg and I have been following the same line of inquiry, starting with the congressional investigations, as well as the 2017 series of articles in the New York Times by Leslie Kean and others, then I think that my book is going to bear an enormous resemblance to what he puts in the movie. And so both Spielberg and I can't speak for Spielberg. I don't know what's true, but I do know that before you go in front of Congress, they vet you pretty thoroughly. And so, and I always try to take the skeptic's point of view. And so what can I say that I am certain is absolutely true? What I can say that's absolutely true is these whistleblowers are genuine individuals who work in the programs that they say they did, and that they do not have psychological problems which would make us question the validity of their statements. And that seems to be pretty much agreed to by everybody. In fact, the government has come out and said these whistleblowers worked in the programs that they said they did. They are who they say they are. And the only thing that the government is contesting is, they may have seen some things, but it was just advanced tech, nothing UFO related. Well, that's a pretty thin argument, I think, when you really look at the totality of what they say.
Producer Jerome chiming in. Thank you so much again for joining us this morning. So given the fact that we have had people like David Grush, David Fravor, Ryan Graves that had the subcommittee hearing where they were basically acknowledging that they've seen with their own eyes, or at least have seen to some degree evidence of technology that does not match what the average person would consider to be typical, military technology or commercial technology. And they went on record saying that they do believe in non-human intelligence. Bob Lazar, very famously, was claiming that he helped reverse engineer alien spacecrafts. And now on Google, there are patents listed for anti-gravitationals, what we would consider to be the classic UFO type technology. I believe one of your hypothesis was that Hollywood is also involved in the cover-ups of the UFO. So I wanted to ask, I can understand from a military perspective why they would want to keep this stuff hush-hush, but what incentive is there for Hollywood and entertainment groups to get in on the cover-up?
You mean Independence Day was a documentary?
Transformers is a documentary, Mike.
Well, what's really interesting is in talking to a lot of the UFO researchers, what they keep talking about is this idea that the military-industrial complex wants to terrify us about UFOs. And so that's why you get movies like Independence Day, where they're blowing up the world for reasons that don't really make a lot of sense. And so their concern is that the military and the military contractors want to create this alien threat narrative, which is, oh my God, these things are in the skies. We don't know what they are. Please, Congress, give us billions of dollars so we can study them. When the reality is that they've probably been recovering these crash vehicles for decades and reverse engineering them. And one of the common themes that I hear from the UFO researchers is that a lot of these so-called UFO encounters are actually our own craft, that the military contractors are scaring our own military personnel. So when you hear the military personnel, they are terrified by these things. But the claim, at least, is that a lot of these UFO encounters are our own technology, and whether it's our own intelligence agencies or the military contractors, they are engaged in this program to panic the public and get the public to demand billions of dollars be spent on investigating UFOs when we probably already have a lot of the technology developed.
All right, this voice that you're hearing is Kent Heckenlively, one of the authors of Catastrophic Disclosure, which you can get right now. And Kent, when talking about all of this, of course, in most points in history, you mention UFOs and people just think of the movies and, conspiracy theories and tinfoil hats and all that sort of thing. But the president himself says he's promising documents very soon, and that he's saying there's something here. Now, whether it's what the suspicion is or whether it's what the theories are remains to be seen. But you've also got, the Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War now talking about deadlines that he's missed regarding what they now call UAPs. And so we've got high-level officials publicly talking about something out there. Being what the something is remains to be seen. So what is it you want to hear and see from the president? Then the bigger question is, why does this matter to all of us beyond just curiosities, which is how discussions about UFOs tend to be couched?
Well, Catastrophic Disclosure is my 20th book, and it's the first one that I take on a subject as nutty as UFOs. I'm usually looking at government and corporate corruption. And while it is wonderful that people like Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth are saying that they're going to disclose this information, the question is whether they actually have control over the files. And that's been a common theme. So that's wonderful. But let's talk about what may be at stake here. So you mentioned David Fravor and his account of the 2003 Tic Tac incident in the Pacific off the coast of San Diego. So one of the things that they noticed about that series of encounters was these craft went from 80,000 feet in the air to just above the surface of the ocean within literal seconds. The amount of energy which is necessary to accomplish that is several times the annual energy output of the United States. So if those Tic Tac craft are actually ours, then that means that we have cracked the code on how to create enormous amounts of energy, and that information is being kept from us. So what a lot of these UFO researchers believe, and like I say, I'm not in a position to independently evaluate it, but it seems pretty common that they are saying the real play here is to keep this technology secret because it would completely upend our economic system. Now, I find that to be a very interesting argument, and I'll be interested to see what happens with the release of those documents. Because as you said, yes, it's wonderful. President Trump says, hey, release this. Congress says, hey, release this. I talk to congressmen all the time, and they're so frustrated that they can't get this information from the agencies that we pay for, that I wonder, what is the game being played? So if you're holding on to this technology, which has the potential to rewire the world's economy, you're in a position to make a ton of money. And it seems like the only play you can do is to convince the public that they should be terrified of the aliens. And maybe we won't ask too much about whether they've developed energy systems which would free us from fossil fuel.
Well, thank you again for joining us this morning. One last question that I have for you is, so if this is all more so to spook the public and to get us to justify bigger spending in the military, what then is why now, I guess, would be the question to ask, because it sounds like a lot of the misidentified UFO stuff could very well be just technology that's been secretly developed outside of the public view. But what is there a benefit to drawing more attention to it, to promising all this now than compared to under the Biden administration, the first Trump administration, so on and so forth?
Well, apparently what I hear from the UFO researchers is that among the people who possess this secret information, there has been a split in whether this information should be public. And so apparently most of the people who are in possession of this secret information are saying, hey, we need to release this information because this is what's going to move our civilization forward. So it's apparently a small faction of the people who know this information, who tend to be the violent, psychotic ones, who are attempting to play some final sort of game, go to the conspiracy theory of your choice. Governments always want to get more power over individuals. There's always going to be people trying to benefit from things that should be owned by all of humanity. And that's the story. Like I say, I've never seen a UFO. I don't know. But it's a pretty consistent story that I get all the way through, from the UFO researchers to the skeptics in Congress. Everybody who investigates this says something is being kept from us. Now, they disagree on what that something is, but, it's not just enough for the intelligence community to open the kimono and show Congress what's going on. The kimono needs to drop to the floor, and we need to see everything that's there.
All right. The book, once again, Catastrophic Disclosure. It's out now, which, by the way, interviews with a friend of the program here, with Eric Burleson, in that as well. So you can find that, obviously, Amazon, but people want to follow your work, Kent, not just this, but the other writings as well. How do they get in touch or follow along?
Go to Heckenlively.com.
Easy enough. Kent, good chat with you again. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
All right. We are just about 3 weeks away from the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again banquet, Missouri Right to Life. I'm going to be there. You know who else is going to be there? Riley Gaines is going to be there. If you want to hear our conversation with Riley Gaines, just go look up the Mike Ferguson in the Morning podcast. But this is going to happen Wednesday, May 20th in St. Charles at the Convention Center. Go to MissouriLife.org, look up Missouri Right to Life, and you can get your tickets there. This is going to sell out, and I suspect it's probably pretty close right now. So if you want to hear Riley Gaines speak and network with, about 1,100 of your closest pro-life friends, that you want to do that sooner rather than later. So just look up MissouriLife.org. There's also the link to it at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs, attorney at law, has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs, attorney at law. Call 636-949-0010, extension 3 today, or visit colecombs-law.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on NewsTalkSTL. And you can visit us at INHSTL.com. That's INHSTL.com.
Hey, Jamie Ullman here for Window World. Did you know that Window World offers a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor? They are one of the only 2 replacement windows with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. Window World St. Louis has been owned and operated by a group of born and raised St. Louis residents for more than 23 years, and now Window World is offering 36 months same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today, 800-GET-WINDOWS for a free in-home, no-pressure estimate. That's Window World at 800-GET-WINDOWS.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to hear you.
Hey, Dad, isn't it good to see ya?
Yep, but with smoke alarms, we need to hear them. If one alarm is downstairs, you might not hear it upstairs.
At school, everyone hears the fire alarm.
That's why we install hardwired smoke alarms that all go off together, just like school.
Smoke alarms done the right way.
Green is always grasser at grasserhomeservices.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
So if there's a dilapidated house in your neighborhood, can you go after them legally? Can you sue them? Let's find out with Cole Combs, attorney at law, Wednesday at 11:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Larry Connors here. I begin my morning every day with the Mike Ferguson Morning Show while I'm doing my 10-mile run. Catch my program at 6. Now, back to Mike.
All right, left-wing activists join St. Louis City politicians, but I repeat myself, and they're calling for a boycott designed to hurt the very city they represent.
Nothing does more for community than punishing them financially.
But Jerome, why are people leaving the city of St. Louis?
Because it's thriving too much, Mike.
Good God. Also, James Comey's hot take on a beach results in criminal charges after the DOJ investigates his seashells for the past year.
Very good use of resources.
Yeah. And King Chuck is in the U.S. to see what we've been doing with the place since kicking his ancestors' butts 250 years ago.
No kings.
Except for him.
Fine.
Okay, that's right. All right, 8:52. Let's go ahead and do one more round of news here on the News Dump.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
Okay, 5 St. Louis City alder critters, along with activist groups that include the Party for Socialism and Liberation and labor union activists and pro-illegal immigration groups and pro-abortion activists and anti-Israeli and anti-Jewish groups. They're all calling for what they're calling a general strike this weekend. Well, on Friday, actually. While most of the protest is aimed at Republican and Trump administration policies, Alderman Rasheen Aldrich says on social media that it's also about some local issues.
My name is Rasheen Aldrich, Alderman of the 14th Ward. Our city's at a critical time right now with the recent May 16 tornado and a police department that's trying to take over our budget. We can't be silent. We must stand up. That's why I'm calling on you and my colleagues to go out on strike on May 1st. No work, no school, no shopping. Join us May 1st at Aloe Plaza at 5:30 to make sure your voice is heard.
So if you're mad because of the slow pace of the reconstruction effort of the tornado, why are you telling people to strike?
Right.
Because you're not only reducing the tax funds you have available, you are also, the people that might be rebuilding it are going to strike. Okay.
Yeah, and this is part of a nationwide thing. And it's if you've got your friend who's on the left, like, I'm going to take part in this, just remind them, like, this is literally a communist movement. So just put them on the spot. Okay, so are you going to admit that what you're supporting is the socialist/communist movement in the United States? Well, no, I'm not. Literally, one of the organizers is the Party for Socialism and Liberation.
So they're just doing Cloward pivot strategy nonsense.
Basically, yeah. All right. Let's see here. James Comey snaps that picture, now infamous picture, puts it on Instagram about a year ago. Well, that has resulted in a federal indictment. Here's the story.
Last year, Comey posted a beach photo of seashells in the shape of the numbers 8647. 86 is slang for get rid of, and administration officials asserted that Comey was advocating the assassination of Donald Trump, the 47th president. At the time, Comey said it was simply a political message, and he deleted the post. The indictment is the second criminal case the Justice Department has brought against the former FBI director. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Okay, so I am glad that instinctively, because there's going to be kind of an immediate instinct on a lot of people's part, especially those on who are conservative and or MAGA. Basically, it's he's the enemy. Good, go get him, without really thinking it through. And I'm glad, like Dennis Kneale, who's obviously pretty popular with conservatives, and some others were going, the guy's a louse, but we got to be really careful when we start prosecuting people over social media posts. You better have a really, really, really high standard, because you look at what's happened in Canada and the UK and Australia and New Zealand, where people literally have gone to jail and been sentenced to many years in prison over social media posts. And so they're going to have to really make a strong claim that his seashells picture was actually advocating for murder and somehow agitating for that. That seems to be a really big stretch to me. I think, as Susie was saying, that the process is part of the punishment. I think there's some retaliation here, but that doesn't change the fact that Comey's a dolt of a human being.
Yeah, and this, playing devil's advocate, assuming somebody else had set up the shells like that, he came across it. He
took a picture, yeah.
Got TDS. I mean, there are times where I find graffiti of that nature, and I'm like, hey, this is in the area. Would I then be in trouble for inciting something even if I didn't do the graffiti?
Yeah, and he hates Trump, and he was involved in, the other scandals and hoaxes and impeachment efforts and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not trying to argue to anything with his defense. I'm more worried about us from a future left-wing president who says, oh, we can start going after people for social media posts.
Yeah.
So that's where we've got to be very, very careful. I can be convinced either way. Let me know what you think. You can email me or you'll contact me on social media. All right, King Chuck is in the U.S. King Charles III and Queen Camilla met with President Trump, and also he spoke to a joint session of Congress on Tuesday on their visit to the United States to mark the country's 250th birthday. And delivering remarks at a White House state dinner, Charles says he looks forward to continuing Britain's special relationship with the U.S.
Let us raise our glasses and voices as we toast the past, the present, and the future. Thank you. of our two proud and allied nations. To the United States and the United Kingdom, God bless both our countries.
Now, Charles has been to the United States multiple times, but this is the first time he's been to the U.S. as the sovereign, as King of England.
So the No Kings protesters failed, is what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
they've been saying no kings, and here we have a king.
For the first time.
Yep, there he is. Jeez. All right. Okay, the Cardinals even up their series with the Pirates, getting an 11-7 win in Pittsburgh. Kyle Leahy went 5 1/3 innings to pick up his third win of the season. Nolan Gorman and Victor Scott II both hit home runs in that game. Game 3 of the 4-game series. Most series are 3 games. This one's a little bit longer. So game 3 of the 4-game series starts this afternoon at 5:40. Andre Palante going to be on the mound to start this one for the Redbirds. Cardinals are in third place in the division. They are 3 games behind the NL Central leading Reds.